Alright guys, we got a brand new video by Conduit. I like this guy. This guy has some pretty good stuff, you know. He watches people for 1 week, gets an opinion on them. He did it with Hassan, he did it with Asmongold. We watched the Joe Rogan episode that he did, and now he's doing one on Matt Walsh, and it looks interesting. I have definitely dabbled in Matt Walsh's stuff, mainly with his work on the Daily Wire. I think to be honest, the extent of my exposure with Matt Walsh is the fact that he, did a video on Old Town Road when it was popular back in 2019. He got absolutely fucking dumpstered for his take on it. I wasn't a huge fan of Old Town Road either, so I kind of liked it at the time because I was like, oh, this guy's an Old Town Road hater. I guess I didn't really, tune into the fact that he was kind of just some weird right-wing freak, and, well, yeah, I guess we are where we are today. He's kind of a loser. So, yeah, he watches Matt Walsh for 1 week, and we're just gonna see what Conduit turns up on. This video is pretty long, so I do have it on 1.25 times speed.
Has there been any kind of major nationwide crackdown on left-wing militants and extremists and those who are funding and facilitating and promoting this violence?
Gotta love we started off with a banger. Guys, left-wing extremists are violent. The left is violent. It's just not, it's not a thing. Listen, are there violent leftists? Yes, but conservatives often exaggerate how violent they are. If you look up statistics, right, for who's more violent, left-wing violence or right-wing violence, prevalently throughout history, it's always been right-wing violence. The statistics will back you up on that. That is just an undisputed fact that right-wing violence is more prevalent. But a lot of conservatives don't particularly care about facts. You could show facts all you want, but they're just going to completely disregard it because they care about how the left makes them feel. And the left feels violent to them. So they're just going to sit here and pretend that the left is violent. So ultimately, even if the stats back it up, it's not going to matter, and you're not going to get through to people like this.
Democrats get in office, they're going to do that to us. The only difference is that we haven't committed any crimes. Doesn't matter to them. Right-wing extremist
Oh, interesting. So, right-wing extremist crimes. We've never committed any crimes. Also, Donald Trump started a whole J6. Oh, okay. That completely just debunks everything you just said. This guy's already, really dumb.
Violence basically doesn't exist.
Wow. Right-wing extremist violence doesn't exist. Well, you know what would disagree with you, Matt Walsh? Statistics.
Well, in the case of the left, you've got this actual conspiracy to commit violence all over the country. And
this is so ironic. Wait, is he fucking projecting here? January 6th was based on an entire conspiracy theory to overthrow the government that Donald Trump had the election completely robbed from him. This is so ironic.
There has not been any serious major crackdown.
My name's Matt Walsh. I host a radio morning program at 93.5 The Beach.
Teen pregnancy is a new problem. It's only recently that we decided that it is a problem.
Here you have the cases in Hollywood. Actresses willingly have sexual relationships with powerful men, and they do this for the sake of movie roles. And then years later, after getting what they...
Well, the unfortunate reality about that is you had people like Harvey Weinstein who often abused a power dynamic, saying, hey, if you want to get this movie role, you have to, suck my dick or something, or you have to do this sex act for me or whatever. Unfortunately, that is a very prevalent thing it's been a prevalent thing in the film industry where a lot of powerful men would abuse that power dynamic against women so that they would get roles in films. It's pretty disgusting. That's what it is more than anything. The problem is that Matt Walsh is trying to make it sound like these young girls are consenting to that act. That's what makes this especially disgusting.
They want out of it. They claim that they were being assaulted the entire time.
Girls between the ages of 17 and 24 is when they're technically most fertile. Recently, in the last...
Oh my god, they are the most fertile. Dude, this guy's talking about 17-year-olds being Dude, what is happening?
30 years or so, we decided that's way...
I never knew Matt Walsh was this bad. I knew I kind of figured out he was a right-wing freak when I found out he was on the Daily Wire. I never realized he was this bad, though. This is egregious as fuck.
too young to start a family.
A lot of people have harkened back to the revolutionary times. Well, our founding fathers had very specific goals in mind. It wasn't a generalized sense of outrage. And by the way, they were willing to back it up with guns and violent force.
And then you have instances of inappropriate language where a man is accused of hitting on women or making rude comments. And all of these also get lumped in and are stuffed under the kind of Me Too umbrella.
If you want extreme things to happen, you have to be willing to go to extremes. And the civil rights movement, they had specific...
Yeah, you could say the same about Trump's recent assassination attempts, Trump being a dogshit president. I'm not advocating that you should assassinate the president, obviously, but I am saying that, like, if you're going to be an extreme piece of shit like Donald Trump, people are going to want to do extreme things back to you.
Specific goals. They boycotted. The people that were oppressing them, they made them hurt. So I would say that it's time for extreme measures. I'm not advocating violence, but why are we limiting ourselves?
Until we reclaim sexual morality and sexual boundaries, we will be stuck trying to condemn all bad sex on the grounds of consent.
Everyone keeps bringing
God, this guy is such a weirdo.
up our founding fathers. They were willing to pick up guns and kill people for what they wanted.
Which expands the idea of consent so broadly as to render it meaningless.
I would see nothing wrong with a society where 17-year-old girls are getting married to 17 or 18-year-old guys that are not kids, they're men.
Okay, let's say we get all new people in November. Let's say November, all new people come in. It's gonna be the same problem again unless you actually change the system.
Willing participation is consent. The only time when willing participation is not consent is when there is something that precludes the person from being able to actually willingly consent. Or when they're...
Or if a woman says no. Consent, believe it or not, Matt Walsh, consent can be revoked at any given point during the act. And if they say no, like, that's it. Like, once they remove consent, even if it's during the act, like, that's it. Now, yes, are there cases where you have, like, some moron like Katie Bugs falsely accusing George Not Found of sexual assault when she was in, like, a fucking cuddle position or whatever willingly? Yes, there are obviously false sexual assault allegations. I'm not saying they don't exist. But Matt Walsh is pretending like the removal of consent is just, like, non-existent.
Consent is coerced.
If society was different and that we stopped insisting that you're a kid until you're 25 and we just deal with the reality that at about 16 you're an adult who is mature and can make decisions.
And if you want to change the system, you have to go to extreme measures, and that's it.
17-year-old girls and 18-year-old girls that are still in high school or just getting into college, many of them want, biologically and metaphysically and with everything in their body, they want to settle down, they want to start a family, and that's always going to be that way no matter what you do.
Why are you, like, I just don't understand. Why is Matt Walsh, a grown man, talking about how fertile a woman is when she's 17, or how, like, a woman is, like, wants to be fucked so badly at the age of 17 or 18? Like, Matt Walsh, you're a grown man. Why are you thinking about this?
Let's understand here that Republicans are not the answer. They are not, period. Do not vote for Republican. Please, I beg you, don't vote for Republican. What has a Republican done for you? Yeah, everyone says, well, these are not as bad as Democrats. Yes, they are. They're all bad.
Is there anything left to say about Matt Walsh that hasn't been reiterated 100 times over since he's become a major voice in conservative politics in the last 10-ish years?
Yeah, I mean, he has been, like, a large voice in conservative politics. I just don't fucking listen to anything he says, because I figured, oh, this guy's a right-wing freak on the Daily Wire, so that probably tells me everything I need to know.
Transphobe, racist, homophobe, basically every phobe and is there is to signify that the top of his social hierarchy is straight, white, Christian, and preferably Catholic men.
Well, the only phobe that he isn't is white people. If you criticize white people, that's going to be the thing that he has an issue with, not if you criticize any other marginalized group.
But despite all that, he's had a successful career at the Daily Wire, now boasting over 4 million YouTube subscribers. If people want to hear what he has to say, I have to believe there's something more to his message than a running list of all the kinds of people he doesn't like. So I watched his podcast for a week and I'm going to tell you what I learned. And if you appreciate the masochistic spectacle I put on for you with these videos, I've got a Patreon where you can see them a week early, and a merch store that will help you show people that you've seen them. You know I must need an expensive therapist for all this. Also, real quick, I started a new shorter series called English as a First Language, where rather than an extensive fact check, I focus on the way content creators will construct their narratives to convey subtle and not so subtle messages to their audiences. You can check out the first episode on Candace Owens after this video by going to my main channel. The plan is to upload one episode in between each longer video. Let me know what you think in the comments.
If you were to ask somebody to name a famous dystopian novel, they'd probably come up with something like Orwell's 1984 or Animal Farm.
We begin in Matt Walsh's man cave, I guess? I don't know. It's giving F-150 that's only ever carried air.
Or if they're younger, they say something, unfortunately, like the Hunger Games.
Something you'll notice is that Matt frequently laments the way the younger generations have different cultural touchpoints.
Students are bombarded with...
I guess that's technically not too surprising. Maybe that... Here's the thing, right? Back in, I want to say maybe 2019-ish. Yeah, I think 2019 sounds about right. Yeah, around 2019, I had a phase where I was a lot more right-leaning. I was, like, more conservatively. Wow, Icon was more right-leaning at one point. Holy shit, you guys would have never been able to guess. Not my proudest moment in my life. I got psyoped by a lot of conservative figures like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh was one of them. Like, literally, I had, like, hatred for a popular song that, like, annoyed the shit out of me called Old Town Road. It was so fucking annoying. And I just come across Matt Walsh's, like, I guess, hatred of it. And then I was like, wow, yeah, no, I agree with you. Wow, holy shit. But no, it's Matt Walsh is an actual, like, disgusting piece of shit. So it's just like, yeah. I still don't like Old Town Road. I'm not a fan of it. I wouldn't say I hate it as much as I used to back in the day. But I still, it's a song that I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to. But, like, I don't judge other people for liking it anymore, you know what I mean? I kind of, like, back then I would have been like, you like this song? You're a fucking normie, ugh. But now I'm just like, okay, you like it, I dislike it, I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to it, but I don't really, like, hate it as much as I used to.
Messages that tell them that domestic authoritarianism is the greatest threat. Many of them are sympathetic to left-wing messaging about the alleged rise of fascism in the United States.
The alleged rise. Well, there is fascism in the United States, objectively. Trump is, like, has been on the rise to being a dictator more and more as time goes on. Like, he has utilized ICE to deport people without due process and murdering people indiscriminately. So, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable saying at this point that ICE is a domestic terrorist organization. Was ICE always bad? No. Before Donald Trump, you know, ICE wasn't always bad, but ICE right now is bad because it's under Trump's rule.
Edged, but we'll get to that, and hopefully that statement doesn't dissuade you from listening to the rest of this. Matt's focus for today will be comparing the modern left to an old dystopian novel.
No school in the United States will assign it to you. You'll instantly be labeled a white supremacist by the editors of The Atlantic. And I'm talking about the book...
Well, I mean, you don't particularly care for any other race or protected group. You only seem to care when it's directed towards white people, so... Yeah, I mean, if you're going to say that white people are being threatened by other groups of people, which you have done a lot, Matt Walsh, I'm pretty comfortable saying that you might align yourself with some level of white supremacy or white nationalism.
Called The Camp of the Saints.
Camp of the Saints is about a group of French people awaiting the arrival of a large group of Indian migrants, which they see as an impending doom.
Contrary to what you're told, this book is not a white supremacist screed.
The main antagonist of the story is a guy only referred to as the Turd Eater.
The berserk booty bomb banqueter.
The Turd Eater.
The dastardly doo-doo devourer.
Is a guy who has somehow amassed 1 million people onto boats where they refuse aid, kill the Pope, and all the while, the press relentlessly tries to defend them.
Nor is it concerned solely with the rise of domestic fascism. Instead, the Camp of the Saints is about a threat that is external to a sovereign nation, specifically the threat of unchecked mass migration.
And when they finally arrive in France, it's exactly what you'd expect from a book like this.
Now, as the author puts it, the book is not about Big Brother. It's about Big Other.
They're brutal savages demanding all the luxuries of Western capitalism while murdering the people who haven't fled. The immigrants then outnumber the whites, and political leaders are forced to accommodate and intermarry. In what world is any of this not insanely racist? Like, am I an editor at The Atlantic now, or am I just a
sickly shit?
But guys, you can be fucking, you can't be racist to black people because they're inherently lower IQ. That's like something Asmongold would say. Actually, well, Somalian people, they got lower IQs. You know, they assimilate into our country. They threaten us every day. Illegal immigrants are trying to dismantle the government. They're trying to destroy us. I never leave my house ever in my life, so none of these groups are ever going to be a threat to me, but I feel threatened by them regardless. Oh, but all Muslims are terrorists as well, and they should be hanging on the streets of New York. Stuff like that. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that, like, a lot of right-wingers would say.
The dialogue may have seemed fairly unconvincing. After all, who would actually welcome a horde of impoverished foreigners who are in the process of invading their home country? After what just happened in New York City, we can definitively say that, if anything, the Camp of the Saints dramatically undersold the extent of the anti-white, anti-civilizational depravity that would take hold in the West.
Okay, so I think I know what he's talking about here. He's talking about the fact that, I believe this is in reference to New York City's bombing done by, like, 2 Muslim kids. It was a white supremacist rally. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not saying you should be violent to other people, but if you're going to attend a white supremacist rally, I'm not going to feel sorry if people are going to be violent to you. I have a pretty hard time feeling bad for you. Now, granted, yes, what the kids did was bad, but also, like, people are going to do crazy... If you're willing to do extreme shit in public, people are going to do extreme shit back to you. That's just the way of the world works. All right? The thing Matt Walsh is trying to say is that because these two kids happen to be Muslim that were attacking them, he's doing the Asmongold tactic where he's trying to say that all Muslim people are terrorists, and therefore we are under threat by all Muslims, which is obviously ridiculous. It's just not... There's nothing factual about every single Muslim person being a terrorist in any meaningful way.
Anti-civilizational depravity is Matt talking about? Jake Lang held an anti-Islam protest outside New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani on his residence.
Oh, and by the way, Jake Lang, not long after this, got exposed for talking to a 15-year-old girl, which, by the way, Asmongold defended Jake Lang before this stuff. Again, Asmongold has a lot of... All of his orbiters have a weird pattern of being weird child predators. It's a very interesting pattern of behavior that Asmongold likes to surround himself with. I've noticed that a lot.
His protest was counter-protested. Two men approached with homemade explosives and threw them at Lang. Thankfully, the explosives did not go off, but now Matt has a narrative he can run with.
The book was ahead of its time, in other words. As of 2026, everyday leftists walking around the streets of New York have far more suicidal empathy.
Suicidal empathy is one of those terms like virtue signaling that doesn't really mean anything when wielded by the right, except that you're wrong to care about things. Also,
God, this is so fucking... yeah, of course, Asmongold.
I'm gonna be cutting the frequent gaps that Matt leaves between every third word because, by God, he takes a while to say things.
Bro, I don't even know what suicidal empathy means anymore. Like, people say suicidal empathy, like, I just don't even know. Like, suicidal empathy, I believe, to my understanding, it's supposed to be the concept that, like, you feel so empathetic to a group of people that your cause is almost misguided, I guess. Is that what it means? Because, like, so many people use suicidal empathy as a term, but they don't actually fucking... I don't even know if it's actually, like, applied properly.
This is the shot that, more than any other image I've ever seen, encapsulates the ideology of modern leftism. This is an emasculated white guy, literally in the act of extolling the virtues of open borders and migration, getting used as a literal footstool by a Muslim bomb thrower whose parents came from Afghanistan.
So 1, not a literal footstool. If anything, he's unintentionally put his body between the bomb thrower and Lang. 2, this is a photo of two people who were born and raised in the United States. Matt needs to bring up his parents so that he can call them foreign by association. And 3, by the same standard Matt uses here to imply that Muslims are incompatible with the West, I could post the ADL's list of right-wing terrorism in the past year and say this justifies that white people are incompatible with Western civilization because they refuse to assimilate to a secular, multicultural society.
Yeah, and like I said, again, like this whole, oh my god, leftists are violent, it's just, like... Anytime you hear somebody say leftists are violent, like, I just roll my eyes and discard it. Because, like, yes, I'm not saying that there's never been a leftist that's violent in history, but it is much more prevalent in history that right-wing extremism is more dangerous and more violent than left-wing extremism. Left-wing extremism, for the most part, is just, like, screaming on the fucking streets and being annoying. And just being, like, gay. Like, that's the extent of your left-wing extremism. Right-wing extremism is, like, defending pedophilia and wanting to murder marginalized groups for the groups that they hang out in. And, like, murdering, like, brown people, basically. And saying that brown people are, like, the worst. That is the extent of right-wing extremism. And wanting to take over Greenland and ruining our relations with our allies. That, like, because our government is ran by right-wing extremists as well.
And according to Turning Point USA's reporters who were on the scene, the mob of angry white leftists openly called for Lang's murder before someone actually tried to kill him.
These were...
Yeah, Jake Lang's a white supremacist. Even if that's true, I don't really feel bad for Jake Lang. I'm not... Again, if you are a white supremacist, like, we have to understand something. You know, people are like, oh, you guys are trying to go after white supremacists. You're trying to go after right-wingers for having a different opinion. Having different opinions about tax policies, that's a different opinion. Having different opinions about, like, illegal immigration policies enacted in America, that's, like, a difference in opinion. Saying that brown people or gay people or trans people need to have their rights stripped from them, that is not a difference in opinion. We have gone beyond a difference in opinion. You are trying to take away a fundamental right from a group of people. You can't use the excuse difference in opinion for that. That doesn't work. You're being intentionally disingenuous about that.
White leftists that were coming here to kill Jake Lang when he ran away from the attempted bombing. The leftists then went to the...
Jake Lang's a white supremacist. I have a hard time feeling bad for him. Shouldn't be violent. Obviously, don't be violent. But, like, again, if you're going to be violent when it comes to your rhetoric and saying that white people are threatened by other groups of people and enacting this total victim complex, I'm not going to feel sorry if people want to be violent to you. You're asking for it.
Other side to try and cut him off. They were doing everything in their power to kill him.
So now we have Matt saying they're emasculated footstools, and TPUSA saying that all the protesters were trying to kill Jake Lang. There's this thing in propaganda where your enemy needs to simultaneously be strong enough to negatively affect your life and weak enough that you can feel superior to and defeat them. So from all of this, what is the conclusion that Matt comes to?
An overwhelming number of leftists, probably a majority at this point, want to see their political opponents get killed. And on top of that, they want to see the downfall of the United States. They want white people to be eliminated from the face of the earth.
What a victim complex. Guys, white people are being fucking threatened every single day of our lives. Guys, we gotta save the white race. Like, what the fuck is this?
They want a true dystopia.
Citation needed.
But now, in addition to the left, Matt takes the opportunity to say that the media is against the United States as well.
Now, nothing illustrates this point more clearly than the response of the mainstream corporate press.
Now, since Matt goes through a bunch of headline tweets about this incident to conclude that these outlets have sided with Islamic fundamentalism against the United States, let's look at what they've said both in the actual articles these tweets link to, as well as the tweets they've posted afterwards.
Quote, breaking, a device ignited outside Zohran Mamdani's mayoral residence yesterday during an anti-Islam protest, a counter-protest.
It's interesting, all these people like Matt Walsh and Joe Rogan, they all say that social media rots your brain, and the first thing we see is them citing them posting it on fucking Twitter. Like, gotta love it, dude. Very offline behavior from Matt Walsh and Joe Rogan.
Was confirmed to be an improvised explosive.
So this tweet was posted on the 8th, about 24 hours after the attack and prior to the full release of the attacker's motives by the police. If you read the article, which Matt does not in this video, you can see that's why they don't specify the motive, but do include Mayor Mamdani's condemnation of Lang's protest for being obviously racist, while at the same time condemning the violence even more strongly.
Of course,
yeah, again, the fucking Zohran Mamdani, he condemned both the violence and the protest as well. Again, like I feel like I said my piece about this already when I reacted to Asmongold's coverage of it, where Asmongold basically tries to say that all Muslims are terrorists and that these Muslims should be hanging from the streets. Meanwhile, Asmongold gives no, and I mean no pushback to the fact that the fucking protest is inherently a racist protest because of it being a white supremacist rally.
All of that headline is to make you think that the anti-Islam protesters placed the explosive device outside the home of
the anti-Islam protest. They're white supremacists. He's trying to say anti-Islam. Dude, when he says anti-Islam, he's making a downplay of it. He's saying, oh, they're just against the religion. They're white supremacists. He's fucking downplaying it.
The Muslim mayor.
It's also why in the following days, they included the motive in the headline that they posted several times.
The headline is vague on purpose to avoid describing what happened. They want readers to believe a lie.
These outlets didn't include a motive in their initial reporting.
It's just, I love that he intentionally leaves out the fact that it's a white supremacist rally by saying that it is anti-Islam and then proceeds to say that the media does the same thing that he just did. It doesn't get more ironic than that.
Because they needed to confirm it first.
NBC's New York affiliate did the same thing. They published multiple arrests made after suspicious devices found outside Gracie Mansion.
Same thing. It only took them a day.
Meanwhile, TMZ went with the following headline, which was also inaccurate and wildly misleading.
I'm sorry, is he telling his audience TMZ has a liberal bias?
And there was this
That's fucking hilarious.
egregious article from The Guardian. They plastered Jake Lang's photo at the
top.
Bro,
everything is against the right. Dude, everything is after me. Everybody is trying to attack me. The left is trying to attack us. They're trying to attack. Bro, what a victim complex. Matt Walsh is like forever a fucking victim. It's so pathetic.
Top of the story implying that it's a story about him.
Here's The Guardian covering their court appearance a week later. Matt basically repeats himself for his explanation of each tweet, so we're just going to put a pin in that and save it for later.
But that'd be a very inconvenient headline, so they bury the facts in word salad. They want to avoid writing the truth, which is that the Muslim terrorist made Jake Lang's point for him. He was saying these people are not compatible with Western civilization, they're violent, and they throw a bomb at him. So they describe Jake Lang as a right-wing nuts.
Jake Lang is politely referred to as a right-wing provocateur.
And which is pretty remarkable under the circumstances. These terrorists tried to murder Jake Lang solely because of his political and religious beliefs.
But I'll call him a belligerent asshole who was arrested just 1 month prior to this protest for felony destruction of property.
But according to the New York Post, the terrorists are just ISIS-loving teens whose parents seized the American dream.
That was commissioned by a veterans organization.
But the guy they attempted to blow up live on camera? Well, he's a nut.
And now Matt is tacitly defending him by promoting his message here as justified, a message Lang chose to send by bringing a goat along and calling it Mamdani's second wife.
Like, objectively, they don't even need to, it's not even editorializing, they're claiming. It's just an objective description.
What Matt Walsh is really criticizing here is that all of these news outlets didn't immediately jump on this being a bunch of Muslim terrorists. And of course, being immigrants from a foreign nation, Matt accuses them of committing fraud.
That's not even getting into how exactly these people came from Afghanistan, one of the poorest countries on the planet, and now own a multi-million-dollar home in an exclusive neighborhood.
So what Matt is doing here is called jacking off. Not to be
jacking off, okay, Conduit.
confused with JQing. That's a different thing.
I wouldn't doubt that Matt Walsh JQs as well. I mean, he seems like a white supremacist, and a lot of white supremacists don't think Jewish people are white people. So I wouldn't doubt that Matt probably hates Jewish people as well, which puts into question, would he have a problem with working with Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire? That's one thing.
Is just asking questions, but he could easily look this stuff up himself. Instead, he wants to lead his audience to speculate based on the bias they already have against these people. Because if he actually did the research to inform his audience, they would know that these questions all have very easy answers.
Someone should explain how exactly they pulled that off. Do they own any Leering centers in Pennsylvania?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I unfortunately have to go to the Daily Mail for this. All of their success is legitimate. I'm always sort of amused by right-wingers who think that immigrants can find success in the United States while simultaneously extolling the wealth and opportunity available in the United States. It's kind of revealing about who they think is actually capable of success.
And how did they manage to amass this extraordinary wealth while raising a domestic terrorist? How is it possible they weren't aware of what he was doing and what he believed?
Of course, that's another leading question meant to evoke suspicion, but let's actually track the logic here. They have money, resources, and time, and the best they could pull off was 2 amateur bombs whose components were immediately traced back to the builders.
How is it possible they don't share those beliefs?
Okay, real quick for any parents out there. How many of you actually know what your teenagers are doing day to day, especially the ones who are almost or over 18 already?
And more broadly, there's the most important question of all. Why is it in our interest to import Afghans into this country?
I hate when people use the word import to describe immigration as though people are some kind of product. You cannot simultaneously believe that America is the most popular country in the world that everyone wants to come to, and
not only that, but like America has always been like a country of immigrants. It's all like people have always wanted to come to America to like immigrate. Like it's always been like a country of immigrants as far back as you can remember it. I mean, like when you really think about it, like our ancestors were immigrants probably as well. Maybe Matt Walsh's ancestors are immigrants as well. They only say the only reason they say imports and they have a problem with it is because they're brown people and they inherently don't like brown people, and so they have a problem with that. That's really what it is more than anything.
The only way people would be getting in is because they are being intentionally brought in to dilute the white race.
No one's ever presented an actual argument for this.
About 12 years ago, John Oliver did an episode on translators for the American military facing severe red tape on the path to emigrating to the United States.
Vegetables. Accurate translation can be the difference between life and death. And over the last decade, good local interpreters in Afghanistan and Iraq have saved countless American lives. Ask any veteran, and they will tell you that translators risked their own lives working for us. And because they did that, they are permanent targets for insurgents.
Did we ever hold a vote on that?
Actually, yes. Immigration laws are set by Congress, so technically we vote on this every 2 years.
Have we ever run a cost-benefit analysis?
Also, yes. There are a lot of studies available to Matt and all of you that in no uncertain terms say that immigration to the United States is beneficial. Even if you disagree with the conclusions, you can plainly see that this rhetorical jacking off is intended to play off your existing bias against immigration, which, if you're looking for a trustworthy news source, should be a pretty big red flag.
Has anyone...
It's very interesting. Well, I mean, again, Matt Walsh is part of the spheres that are all like very feelings based. So Matt Walsh is going to look at that and go, oh, it's just the mainstream media lying. Again, you could show Matt Walsh all the facts you want, and it's not going to matter because Matt Walsh is too focused on his feelings and how these groups of people make him feel. And so he's going to forever think that he is like part of the victim, or that white people are being fucking replaced by other groups of people in America, despite the fact that, like, there are immigrants who weren't even always considered white. We didn't used to consider Italians or Irish people or even Jewish people white. Like, they were not always considered white. So it makes no fucking sense to me.
Who supports this ever presented any argument in favor of it? Well, of course not. And these are questions we should have asked before we allowed the parents of both of these terrorists, Imar Balat and Ibrahim Qayyumi, to become naturalized citizens.
So what Matt is saying here is that these people should have been screened for whether or not children they did not have yet would eventually become jihadis in the future because they were radicalized on the internet.
These are the kinds of questions we should have asked before allowing the Muslim population in the United States to double over the past 20 years.
So it's interesting because you have a lot of radicalization on the red pill community, and you had like the right wingers were constantly like backing Andrew Tate, and they were constantly like aligned with Andrew Tate. Eventually, it optically like looked really bad to associate with Andrew Tate because of all the sex trafficking, grooming stuff that came out. And so eventually right-wingers finally denounced him. But if it was today, they probably would back him up because we see like literal defense for pedophilia today in the White House because Trump refuses to release the Epstein files when he promised he would, because let's be honest, the only reasonable conclusion is that he is on the predator client list.
What Matt just said was the Muslim...
Again, he was also best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for like 10 plus years.
Population, not the Muslim immigrant population. Maybe that was unintentional sloppiness on his part, but just so we're clear, the way he described it would imply that we should be controlling how many kids they have. The population didn't double just because people were immigrating.
Now we're finding out that actually we didn't vet any of these people. We didn't ensure that they were loyal to the United States or compatible with our civilization.
Again, John Oliver did.
Because Soros, like a shocking number of interpreters, has applied for a visa but is stuck in bureaucratic limbo. Congress passed bills in 2008 and 2009 providing thousands of special immigrant visas for local nationals who worked with the US military. But despite huge demand, very few were issued.
Immigration laws are extremely strict, and the result is a backlog that extends upwards of 10 years for some people waiting for their approval to both enter the United States legally and to be approved for citizenship.
And you know, like, listen, I am all for having with a good faith conservative, not like a normal conservative that's not like fucking MAGA or like that like is an extreme conservative, because unfortunately it's hard to tell nowadays. There's so many fucking extreme conservatives nowadays. But like a normal conservative like viewpoint is, hey, listen, you know, I think we need to reinforce our immigration policies. Obviously, we need to make sure people come here legally. That's fine. That is a perfectly fine and honestly normal opinion to have. That's fine. The problem is that you have people like Trump that say that illegal immigrants are like rapist pedophiles that want to murder our children. Or that you have people say that illegal immigrants come into the country with the intention to destroy the U.S. government. That's a victim mentality. You have a victim complex if you think that illegal immigrants are trying to kill us. Illegal immigrants come here because they want to start a new life, and a lot of their home countries are not as fortunate as we have it here in America. So I can understand why people want to come here illegally, even though you should come here legally, right? You should go through the immigration process normally, like everybody else, and get your citizenship and everything. Like, I don't know, like, really, I don't think it's a very difficult ask to be like, hey, let's humanize illegal immigrants. Let's not fucking murder illegal immigrants, or let's not send them to, like, slave camps or something. Like, some weird extreme shit like that. Like, let's just humanize them. That's it. Like, yes, obviously, it's necessary to deport some of them, obviously, especially if they are committing crimes or smuggling narcotics. I'm not saying that never happens. But, like, there's so many people, like, I would probably understand the illegal immigration talking points a lot more if so many people weren't so unbelievably extreme about it and, like, dehumanized illegal immigrants.
In part, is one of the drivers for illegal immigration that we need to reform. If America is a nation of immigrants, we should be more than welcoming to the ones that provide essential help before they even get here.
And maybe
and that's another thing, yeah. Like, unfortunately, we are dependent on a lot of illegal immigrants as well. Like, a lot of times that they take a lot of jobs that a lot of average Americans wouldn't want to do. They work in textile facilities, they work on farms, they work in restaurants. There's all kinds of jobs that illegal immigrants are willing to take because they're just trying to start a new life. So we are dependent on illegal immigrants. So you can't just solve the issue by deporting every single illegal immigrant. It's a lot more complicated than that. Again, like, people are just like so dehumanizing to illegal immigrants. And that's why I kind of just hand wave a lot of illegal immigration arguments, because people just like paint them as like the worst of the worst.
Because as we're finding out the hard way, most of them aren't. And now it may be too late to do anything about it.
Matt is telling you to be afraid of a vague foreign threat from people who are completely indistinguishable from ordinary people, to the extent that you would support giving extreme and unrestrained powers to the government. And to top it all off, he adds a video of black crime and foreigners existing in Canada as a flourish to let you know that they are taking over.
Yeah, how much do you want to bet that Matt Walsh got this video from Twitter? Because, like, unfortunately, Twitter is built in such a way where the algorithm is going to feed you what you want to see. So, for example, someone like Asmongold probably scrolls through Twitter, because Asmongold is extraordinarily terminally online. Like, Asmongold's average day is just wake up, scroll through Twitter, live stream, scroll through Twitter again, turn off his live stream, and then scroll through Twitter. Asmongold's, like, brain is hooked up into, like, a MAGA victim machine. Like, that's who he is as a person. He's probably constantly being fed shit in his feed saying Somalian people or black people committing crimes are awful and they assimilate into our country to do really bad things. And so he's psyoping himself into thinking that, like, black people are the worst of the worst in this country.
Easily detect several signs that Toronto is no longer a Western city. It has become the third world.
Third world in this case means being in a place where you can see other people. And of course, this tirade wouldn't be complete without bringing it back to 2020 and Black Lives Matter protests.
Okay, so all these...
Oh, great. Guys, the Black Lives Matter protests. Oh my god, dude. The BLM when people use BLM protests as, like, an example of violence, it's just not... It's so exaggerated. Like, were there looters that happened during BLM? Yes, there were. But they weren't part of the BLM protests. If there were right-wing protesters, they would have done the same thing. They were unrelated to the protest. They just they saw a protest and they took advantage of it and tried and looted. And it's unfortunate that it happened, but it's unrelated to BLM. Most of the BLM protests that occurred were peaceful.
These progressive white people in this neighborhood, which is near the site of George Floyd's overdose.
George Floyd did not die of an overdose. He was asphyxiated by a police officer who was found guilty in a court of law.
Yeah, it's literally fucking Charlie Kirk coded saying that, oh, he fucking overdosed on fentanyl or whatever. No, there's a literal live video of Derek Chauvin kneeing George Floyd to death. Now, was George Floyd a saint himself? No, he definitely did a lot of business with drugs and stuff and fentanyl and everything. Like, he definitely did some business. George Floyd's not a saint either, but that does not justify Derek Chauvin fucking murdering him.
Problem is that there are a whole bunch of radicalized foreigners in this country who hate us.
Like, I knew I was going to get some racism, so I prepared myself for that. I wasn't expecting a fire hose to the face.
And they have the full support of self-loathing Americans who wouldn't seem remotely out of place in the camp of the saints.
To be clear, people who were not involved with the protesters showed up, and Matt is taking this and reframing it to say that it was their intention all along, by using TPUSA as a source, and then uses conjecture to ascribe it to most leftists. And he ties it all up by comparing it to an explicitly racist book to say things have gotten worse than the dystopia of the 70s. This segment on the racial impurity of the United States is brought to you by ExpressVPN. So what's the next story after all that? Lindsey Graham supports Israel more than he supports the United States.
You know, whatever you think about the war in Iran, we should all be able to agree that the effeminate, closeted neocon Senator Lindsey Graham should shut the hell up.
Also, he's gay.
Oh, wow. I gotta be honest, I wasn't expecting to see some conservative infighting. Again, we love it, dude. Every time I see conservative infighting, it brings a massive smile to my face. You love to see it.
Hey. How original.
I mean, he's practically orgasmic with glee over this whole thing. I don't understand why Trump is not telling this guy to shut up. I mean, Lindsey Graham is positioning himself as a greater authority than Trump.
More than staking out any kind of position for himself about the war itself, Matt just takes this as an opportunity to yell at Lindsey.
Just a horrible person. He's a psychopath. He's awfully... What has he ever done? What is Lindsey Graham? Let me ask you this, Lindsey. What have you ever done for the people of your state? What have you ever done for them?
Now, this I can agree with, the same way I'd agree with someone if they said the sky was blue.
He's out of line, but he's right.
After that, Jennifer Newsom, California Governor Gavin Newsom's wife, apparently made money working at her nonprofit, which was founded to help icky girls with cooties.
Her company is called Girls Club, LLC. I mean, the main reason I'm reading this story is because of the term first partner of California. As to this stuff about the charity, yeah, obviously it's a scam.
The financials for Jennifer
it's a scam, guys.
Newsom's nonprofit are public record.
Gotta include the fucking conspiracy theories along with it.
So it's not like this was some...
Does he have any sources to back up the fact that Jennifer Newsom is scamming the general public? Does he have any sources for that?
Hidden secret that needed to be uncovered.
Even there, it's like if you're going to donate your money to Gavin Newsom's wife's nonprofit, then you deserve to get scammed. Like, part of me is like, I hope she steals all of it because you just deserve to be scammed. You deserve to be scammed out of every dollar you own. If that's how you're going to spend your money.
Let's look at this Snopes article to see what the actual facts are. For the last 10 years, her salary was about $150,000, and the nonprofit would pay her production company for content.
It's a nonprofit that deals with gender stereotypes. It's like...
Now, maybe her nonprofit shouldn't be paying her own production company, but the way they describe it would make it seem like she's embezzling the entire thing for herself, and nothing was actually produced.
I think I hate the term partner referring to a spouse more than I hate any other woke term. I hate it.
What the fuck? Dude, like, we're getting down to, like, the nitty-gritty details of, like, guys, I hate the term partner. Oh, because God forbid a non-binary person dates a man or a fucking two gay people date or something. Jesus fuck, dude.
More than I hate, like, people with uteruses or whatever, any birthing person.
What is, dude, holy fucking Christ. Imagine spending this much, like, energy just having this much hate in your fucking heart, dude. I don't get it. Matt Walsh must live, like, such a miserable life.
Maddest I've ever been!
But it's also a useful term. If I'm talking to you and you use the word partner instead of wife.
For all intents, given the amount of money that Gavin Newsom is worth, the kind of fraud that they are talking about here would not be worth it and would be needlessly difficult to pull off relative to the amount that they would earn.
I immediately know everything about you. I can judge your entire life. They say don't judge a book by its cover. I don't even need the cover.
And that's before you
God, what a fucking... This guy's so weird.
Get to whether or not the nonprofit's work was worth anything in and of itself.
I know you're an insufferable, emasculated, pretentious dork. I know you're the biggest...
Listen, I think you're speaking from experience there, Mr. Walsh.
Loser on the planet. It's a word you use for somebody you're in business with.
This is just another opportunity for Matt to cry foul based on people's preconceived notions of what nonprofits are for. And what evidence he can cite is based on what reputation the people who wrote the article have rather than the actual substance of the reporting itself.
And I was kind of blindsided because up to that moment it seemed like kind of a normal guy. And then he just drops partner on me.
After that fun trip to California, and don't worry, we'll be going back later, David French wrote an op-ed about James Tallarico, and Matt has some words for Tallarico.
Oh, I love James Tallarico. James Tallarico is like one of the best representations of Christianity out there. I'm not a fan of organized religion. Generally, I don't think it's a very accurate representation or retelling of if somebody believes in God or if a God exists. Because unfortunately, a lot of organized religion uses it to justify marrying children or hating other groups of people or saying that if you get an abortion, you're satanic, stuff like that. It's just very cringe stuff that really does not resonate with me personally. But there are a lot of people who believe in God. There are also a lot of people in churches that have great communities and loving communities and are very loving of other people's neighbors. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think James Tallarico is one of those people. He's one of the very few politicians that actually feels like a human being. And if I could pick a Democratic candidate to be president, I would pick James Tallarico. He'd be my number one pick for a Democrat candidate. He's what we need.
Christian to Christian.
Here's a guy who definitely calls his wife partner, I would assume. This is David French reaching his final form. This is him becoming the final form that he will be.
Okay, this is all the proof I need to know that Matt doesn't write his own scripts because he does not get the reference here.
No, he doesn't. Because he's not a DBZ fan. He's also not a video game. He doesn't strike me as a video game nerd. He just strikes me as some guy who was honestly, here's what Matt Walsh strikes me as. Matt Walsh is somebody who was probably bullied in school, and he wants to inflict, he has just so much hatred in his heart from his past bullying, and so he just wants to inflict that onto other people as much as possible. That's who Matt Walsh strikes me as. He seems like a very hateful individual that does that sort of thing.
Where he defends and praises the liberal heretic James Tallarico.
Oh, Rico's a heretic? Yeah, I think he is.
Oh, we gotta listen to the fucking guy who... Asmongold said he was an atheist. Years ago, Asmongold said he was an atheist. But again, Asmongold is MAGA, and a lot of MAGA are a bunch of religious purist freaks. And so Asmongold is going to sit here and try to grift for MAGA as much as possible. So he's trying to educate himself on the religious psychosis that is MAGA. So he could be like, oh, that's a fact. That's true.
I don't like what he's saying.
It's just, you never hear a kind person calling someone a heretic, do you?
But he's a heretic. He's a blasphemer. He supports abortion up to birth. He supports child castration, transgenderism, everything down the list.
Oh, great. Gotta have the conversation about trans people as well, too. Gotta love that.
Always comes back to trans panic.
He claims that the Bible agrees with him. He says that Jesus was a radical feminist. On and on. He's a heretic.
Heresy! Come on, baby, give me some heresy!
I want to point to this moment here where Matt reads an excerpt from the op-ed David French wrote about Tallarico.
Tallarico isn't just making arguments, he's giving people hope. And I think I know why. And then he goes on to say that the primary American divide is between decent and indecent.
Do you see what just happened there? You might have missed it if you weren't paying attention, or you have this video up in the background to listen while you do something else, in which case... I work really hard on these visuals, you know? There's an ellipse...
Okay. I'm sorry, Conduit. Sometimes I space out. Sometimes I don't get something the first time. I'm a little bit slow sometimes, Conduit. You gotta help me out here. I'm so sorry.
Is at the end of one of these paragraphs.
All right, let's replay that again, just so I can actually listen to what Conduit's saying.
I work really hard on these visuals, you know? There's an ellipsis at the end of one of these paragraphs, representing a section that Matt has omitted from what he's reading.
Oh, interesting. Wait, the ... right there?
Curiosity, I looked for the article so that I can figure out what that section is. It says, put simply, if the primary American divide is between right and left, then Tallarico isn't that interesting. There's a long history of progressive religious activism in the United States, just as there is a long history of conservative religious activism. White evangelicals might be overwhelmingly Republican, but American Christians are remarkably diverse politically, and we've been arguing with one another for a long time.
Ha! Oh my god, he just took that out of context. What a fucking loser. Oh, what a fucking loser. Oh, he knew what he was doing too. You know that was intentional as well, to try to fit his narrative that the left is bad.
Rather than contending with the points the article makes about Christianity, chooses to simply hide them from his audience. And if that doesn't tell you something, he uses an ellipsis to cut out another section earlier in the article in order to skip this passage as well. For example, in an interview with my colleague Ezra Klein, Tallarico criticized the evangelicals' focus on abortion and homosexuality in politics. It is remarkable to me, Tallarico said, that you have an entire political movement using Christianity to prioritize two issues that Jesus never talked about. And just because I like the article and Tallarico, I'm going to read one more section. If you were to crack open scripture today and start reading, one of the first things you should notice is that the Bible contains remarkably few political mandates. You can read it from cover to cover and not know the definitive biblical tax rate, welfare program, or foreign policy. But the next thing you'll notice is that there is an immense amount of guidance describing how Christians should behave. Indeed, in the book of Galatians, the Apostle Paul says that the fruit of the Spirit is a set of virtues: love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and gentleness, and self-control.
All of which are things that James Tallarico subscribes to. These are ideas that he believes in.
Anyway, now Matt is going to tell you why Tallarico is a demon, and David French is basically a leftist at this point, so you should ignore him.
Dude, what a dishonest fucking freak, dude. You should never take anything Matt Walsh says, like, at all. I mean, like, we already knew that Matt Walsh is a fucking weird loser freak that, like, tries to paint every single leftist as, like, a violent individual. But the fact that he's willing to lie about information really tells you a lot about him.
Republicans aren't decent. They follow Trump. Trump is bad. Democrats are the decent ones. Never mind that it's wrong. It's just boring. There is zero difference between the articles they're writing about Trump in 2026 and the ones they wrote in 2016. It's the same thing.
No, the articles they're writing now are about how he's worse.
And they could say, well, yeah, I still object to Trump. Yeah, I get it. Like, we know, you've told us. We think it's dumb.
So what is the actual criticism here of the points being made about Christianity being about love and tolerance and whatnot?
The only change that you're seeing with these guys is that they are becoming more and more overtly liberal. I mean, Bill Kristol is just a full-on leftist at this point. The only move
Oh, great. Billy Crystal
is just to become full-on dyed-in-the-wool leftist.
The Billy Crystal, the guy who played Mike Wazowski in Monsters, Inc. And, what is it? He played the fucking therapist in Analyze This, I think, as well. Which is a movie I definitely have to watch again. It's a very good movie.
Democrats, and that's what they're doing. But as to the article itself, I mean, it's absolute nonsense. David knows that.
In the industry, we call this an Asmongold defense.
This is an established fact. Everybody knows this.
Instead of making
everybody knows that this is an established fact, but proceeds to not prove it whatsoever. Because again, a lot of times Asmongold gets his sources from Twitter. When people lie on Twitter and spread disinformation on Twitter all the time. Because again, Asmongold is like very online. He never leaves his house.
Argument, Matt will just tell you that Tallarico supports killing babies over
claiming that a radically pro-abortion heretic
and over
who uses the Bible to push the murder of babies
and over.
I find it so ironic that a lot of right-wingers who say that they care about a baby's life and they like say abortion is a terrible thing and it's murder and you're killing babies don't give a singular fuck when Trump rapes them when they're actually born. Like, I find it so ironic. You guys care about a baby's life until Trump rapes them. Oh, okay, great. Or Jeffrey Epstein rapes babies. Oh, got it. Great. It's just like, these people fold on their beliefs instantly. There's no real, like, standing with anything that these people believe in because there's always going to be some inconsistency you can find with them. Always. And they never actually stand for anything. Again, everything about them is a feel-good take. They're supposed to be the facts don't care about your feelings crew, but all they are is feelings. Everything that they talk about, every single opinion they spew online, every single time they try to talk about leftists, they are all feelings-based.
Yeah.
You guys are more feelings-based than the left is.
He supports killing babies and says God is okay with it, but he's a decent guy.
And over.
How could it be advocating for baby murder and heresy in a decent way? What does that mean? What do you think decent means?
And over.
It is not possible to decently push for the murder of babies. It is not possible to decently preach heresy.
I need your button. Oh, hold on. You're a heretic.
And blast.
Listen, abortion, I used to have a lot of pro-life beliefs as well. I'm not happy about it, but I did as well. And like, look, I get it. Like, abortion is a very uncomfortable topic, but nobody is really happy about getting abortions. All right, like no one's truly happy about it. Unfortunately, like, but it is necessary. We need to have abortions. Like, you need, like, there are any number of complications with pregnancy, and sometimes you make the child's life worse by giving birth to them, especially if it's a child, like child pregnancy as well, or teen pregnancy, and you need to get an abortion. That's necessary. It's necessary. You know what I mean? Like you should, like, all this, like, unnecessary talk about how, like, oh, you're murdering it's like, you guys use such loaded language to make it sound worse than it actually is. And also, not for nothing, but you guys don't give a shit about the baby after it's born. So, like, I'm not really sitting here with this, like, virtue signal. Like, you have to allow people to have the choice. Like, you have to give people the freedom to be able to choose whether they should or shouldn't keep a baby, because it's not such a black and white topic.
And over again.
It's not possible to decently blaspheme God by saying he's non-binary.
God is...
Oh, great. So, guys, guess what? I believe in a magical apple curse. Everyone else is so much more violent than me. Everyone else is so much grosser than me. Like, gay and trans people are demons. They're all heretics and everything. By the way, I believe in a magical apple curse. Got it, dude. Great.
Human. Why would male or female even apply?
It's not possible to decently advocate for the castration and mutilation of children. He believes in dismemberment.
Oh, great. It's just like the fucking trans conversation is so boring. It's like, it's fucking, you guys act like Planned Parenthood is like kidnapping kids and trying to like groom them into being trans or something. Or that like drag people reading to kids is like grooming kids. This conversation, I've heard this talking point so many fucking times, and it is boring every single time. You know, again, the part, like, you guys talk about trans people so much when you're bored. So much. And it's just, it's boring. You're boring. You don't have anything on this topic. It's like religious indoctrination on children is objectively more traumatizing and more of a threat to children than a kid who feels like they weren't born in the right body.
Infants.
I know that babies taste best.
But then another guy advocates against it, advocates for protecting babies, and does it in an angry way. Well, the first guy is decent, and the second guy is indecent.
Also, not that I agree with the premise, but think about what Matt is saying and how it can be easily flipped around for gay and trans kids. Matt will simultaneously attack, claiming to be the decent one, against someone attacking him angrily.
But somehow
And also, not only that, but his magical apple curse as well. Like, again, it's like, guys, I believe in a magical apple curse. Also, COVID was fake. COVID was fake, guys. It's a conspiracy theory because Trump said so. That's the energy that he's giving right now. He looks like a well-actually guy that's just so angry about the world, and he's a loser.
Baby killers and the child mutilators are on the decent side? What the hell do you think it means? What is decent about James Tallarico? Everything he says is horrifying. He's...
The only normal Christian... Of course, the only normal Christian is, like, horrifying to someone like Matt Walsh or Asmongold, a.k.a. Asmongold, who isn't even religious himself. He's an atheist, and he thinks that he's a heretic now because Asmongold's trying so hard to suck the dick of every single MAGA person in his audience.
Does the most horrifying things. He's advocating for genocidal violence against the innocent, against children, against the unborn.
What? Dude, abortion is not genocide. Jesus fuck, dude. It's just like the loaded language. Guys, abortion is genocide. Get the fuck out of here, dude. It's like, if you want to have a conversation about abortion, you want to have like an ethical conversation about what is and isn't acceptable in abortion, when the right time to get an abortion is, and people who wait until the last trimester, which increases the chances of the infant or the embryo feeling more pain. If you want to have like any sort of philosophy conversation about it, I'm open to those conversations, but that's not what you're doing. You're intentionally trying to paint women as murderers for getting an abortion. It's fucking gross. It's like such a weird insinuation.
Advocating for mass murder of babies. What do you thought? What's decent about it? Even if it did mean that, I don't think the side that pretty much exclusively advocates for, cheers, and commits political violence would qualify as polite.
January 6th.
January 6th. Yep, exactly. January 6th. Donald Trump blaming Rob Reiner for his own death. Recently, Donald Trump celebrating Robert Mueller's death. Asmongold laughing at Robert Mueller dying. Asmongold saying, "Gotcha, bitch," to Renee Good, and then justifying Alex Preddy getting murdered. Tectone basically justifying Renee Good and Alex Preddy getting murdered. Who else? You know, like, fucking Nuxtaku, same thing. Asmongold downplaying January 6th. It's just like, again, I could go on and on and on. The right is way more violent. You guys are so much more violent.
January 6th. No one wants you thinking about January 6th.
Okay, do you know what decent means? It means conforming to respectable and moral behavior. That is what decent means. A decent person conforms to respectable and moral behavior.
But that's not what you're doing. You're trying to say that all women are murderers and they're enacting a genocide for getting an abortion when abortions are necessary, unfortunately. Like, yes, abortions are necessary. That's just the reality of the situation. You need to get an abortion sometimes. That's just, like, people deserve that right. You deserve the right to have an abortion legally. That's just where we're at. You know, I think it's an uncomfortable conversation, but like ultimately, sometimes they have no choice. Sometimes they need to do it. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that like women are awful if they need to get an abortion. Like, it's just like, that's where we're at. Like, you're trying to say that they're fucking genocidal for getting one. It's just such a dumb argument.
It's total nonsense. But they.
Okay, bud. Sure, if you say so.
Who knows that? And so,
And lastly, Matt covers an extremely important topic, a TikTok about how men park.
We're not just
great.
looking for a parking spot. We're running projections. Distance to entry, cart return proximity.
Yeah, of course he's going to pull up like some gay guy on TikTok that's like complaining about parking.
Door ding exposure, exit flow, all of that.
Yeah, see, this is actually...
He's pulling up Z King's boyfriend. Sorry, Z King, if you're watching this, by the way. I'm just kidding. I mean, that was a joke. I love you, Z King, if you're watching this or listening to this. You may not be, but if you are, I love you.
Incorrect. And I have to say, this is wrong. It's precisely the opposite of reality. The masculine approach to parking is to not overthink it, okay? It's like strategizing, making a big deal out of it. That's not the manly approach. That's what women do.
Day 1 done, and I need to take a shower. Maybe donate some money to an anti-deportation legal fund.
You need to fucking get some therapy, Conduit. I feel sorry that you're putting yourself through that. This is on par with like the torture that people get in like fucking the Black Ops 1 campaign. Like, you know, the brainwashing that Mason goes through in the Black Ops 1 campaign. This is like the equivalent to that, basically, where Matt Walsh is like grooming people and he's grooming his audience into believing all the like nasty shit that he's spewing out there.
And that's the first thing. I mean, my God, how boring.
If you were famous for something else, what would you be famous for?
Something else. I'm not famous in the first place. What about you?
If you could add anyone to...
Oh, great. We got to get Candace Owens here, the conspiracy theorist person who probably has some form of psychosis as well. I remember, like, a year ago, I saw, like, Candace Owens talk about how Harvey Weinstein is an innocent man, despite being convicted in court of multiple rapes and sexual assaults, and he was credibly accused of being a fucking terrible rapist that would leverage his power in Hollywood for movie roles and stuff. It's really nasty shit, and Candace Owens out here is making conspiracy theorists that Harvey Weinstein is innocent because she's probably grifting to some extent. I wouldn't doubt it.
Mount Rushmore, this is a very fun question. Who would it be?
Or maybe she just actually has psychosis. I don't know.
And why?
I would add Billy Mays. He just had a great beard, and I'm told I have a similar beard to Billy Mays.
If you could have someone like a personal assistant follow you around all the time, what would you have them do?
Not anything in particular, just to have them obey me every second of the day. That's what I feel like I need emotionally.
What was your favorite?
Oh, yeah, that's what he needs emotionally. He needs, he would probably say the same for women as well, especially in the intro of this video when he was talking about how young women need to be fertile as well, or that they are fertile. Like 17, 18-year-olds are the most fertile. It's like very creepy thing to say. Matt Walsh probably would want to force a woman to have sex with him. That's the kind of guy he strikes me as. You may think that that's disproportionate. I don't care. The way he described some of the women earlier in this video or in the intro of this video, Matt Walsh, probably the kind of guy that would slip something in your drink. You might want to be careful. I don't know, dude.
Toy/hobby growing up. I don't know why it's a slash.
We were not allowed to play with toys when I was a child. We were told that it's, demonic to have toys.
If you could live anywhere in the world.
Oh. Yeah, because that's a great thing to teach your children. It's demonic to have toys. It's demonic to do certain actions in your life growing up with believing in a magical apple curse.
For a year, where would it be?
Definitely nowhere outside the United States. Probably somewhere empty and alone, like North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yeah, just out, flat, empty.
Yeah.
Yee ass land.
I find the concept of a last meal to be so strange.
Yeah.
Like, my last meal I would be in tears, sobbing.
Really?
And terrified. You're about to die in 12 hours.
Yeah, but you're the last thing you're gonna eat. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Probably my dad would always say to me, Matt, stop doing that.
Yeah.
So that's just a good piece of advice in general. Stop doing
that.
Yeah,
that thing that you're doing, stop.
Why would you be nervous to meet a celebrity? It's
she's not really a celebrity, so I say, yeah I guess she's not a celebrity.
Right. A celebrity means a lot of people are aware of your existence.
Yeah.
Why should I be nervous to meet you in that case?
Are celebrities one of your pet peeves?
What fictional character do you wish you could meet?
Oh gosh, you go first because I feel like I have an answer.
I don't have an answer.
I
don't care about this.
What? Come on.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
I hate you for saying that. I hate you.
Does it have meat?
Yes.
Does it have bread?
Yes.
Socratic method, I just proved it was a sandwich.
No, you didn't. You didn't because you didn't start with asking me, do all sandwiches have just meat and bread?
All right.
Maybe you brush up on your Socrates, buddy.
If you had to teach something.
Day 2.
I don't know what the fuck I just watched was. Just like two weird ass freaks beating each other off. Whatever. We're just gonna move on.
Oh my god, we're still talking about the media not covering Islamic terrorism enough.
Desperately been attempting to confuse the public into believing this lie. They know that 2 Muslim terrorists tried to murder right-wing activist Jake Lang. Now that's
again, he's a fucking white supremacist. He's not a right-wing activist. He's intentionally leaving out the white supremacist part out. He's making that very... Like, because, again, if you say that he's a white supremacist, it makes Jake Lang look really fucking bad. He's intentionally not saying that on purpose.
The article was written by 2 authors, both of them women.
Wow.
She uses they, them pronouns.
Oh, great. Guys, they're a non-binary person. Uh-oh. The non-binary person, they exist. Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking shit and fart and cry.
Wow.
The other author is a Spanish-speaking Colombian immigrant to the United States who holds an undergraduate journalism degree.
Why does that matter? They're a Colombian immigrant. Oh my god, if they came here legally, who gives a shit if they're a Colombian immigrant?
If you pay enough attention, you'll find that journalists are paid to obscure relevant information to the extent that the information might lead you to draw some unapproved conclusions.
Oh, source for that, Matt? Do you want to provide any evidence to that claim?
Moving on to the actual story being covered today, air travel. At time of recording and editing, the Department of Homeland Security is still shut down, causing delays. What's Matt's take? The problem is black people and immigrants.
And the TSA long is so line that it snakes into the parking garage. Now, the reason that all this is happening, according to NBC News, is that Democrats are refusing to fund DHS. See, Democrats are upset that 2 left-wing agitators were killed while assaulting and interfering with federal law enforcement officers.
So to briefly sidetrack, he is incorrect. They were not agitators. ICE had no grounds to shoot either of them.
That's an incomplete analysis. So why isn't every single airport in every city...
Well, it's almost like ICE has become a domestic terrorist organization under Trump's presidency.
In the U.S. experience...
Because again, they're just like murdering people for no fucking reason.
A similar meltdown.
Because different airports experience different levels of congestion at different times of day and at different times of year.
TSA agents in the South are calling in sick in response to the funding lap. Now, they know that when the DHS is funded, they will receive back pay, but they don't care. They're going to take a vacation or work a side hustle on false pretenses.
They can't wait until they get the back pay because the back pay isn't going to be helpful when they're on the street, at which point Matt will assume they're homeless because of personal decisions or addiction, and not because Republicans couldn't pass a bill to fund DHS despite having both houses of Congress.
Because they see an opportunity to double dip, and for some unknown reason, which can't possibly have anything to do with systemic corruption or culture or...
Watch the way Matt weaves this so he doesn't directly say black people, but all of the indicators he uses will lead you to the conclusion that it is black people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, Matt Walsh does this, he does this tactic a lot where he intentionally tries to frame something in a certain direction. He leaves a lot of context out just so he can frame whatever he's saying that is the most favorable to right-wing freaks like him. That's his strategy that he's been using, and I imagine we're going to see that strategy a lot more as we continue to watch this.
The majority of TSA agents who are committing this fraud happen to be located in 3 major urban centers in the southern United States.
Guys, fraud is bad. Oh my god. I voted a president in who's like the biggest fraudster. He had like a fucking $1 billion meme coin. He was selling microchips to the UAE and committing fraud there, which you're not supposed to fucking do because the UAE does business with China and they're going to accelerate their AI technology faster than we will if they do that. That's why we're not supposed to do that.
What is he saying? I can't...
Like, Trump is like the biggest fucking fraudster. Also, Trump has also pardoned other fraudsters as well. So, you guys want to talk about fraud. If you guys care about fraud so much, the president that you voted in kind of likes fraud.
Hear him over the loud whistling. My dog is really unhappy about the noise.
Oh, it's the dog whistle.
But no one at NBC News will ever investigate those questions, and we all know why. They're afraid of what they'll discover.
He likes to say we all know a lot. What do we all know? Is there some shared understanding of this that you can't say out loud?
No.
Well, he's dog whistling. That's why it's a dog whistle.
We all know why we're here, and I believe we all know what needs to be done.
And we know that because not too long ago, we didn't indulge the laziness and the corruption of the worst among us.
You just said they were working side hustles like 30 seconds ago. Can you please give me some consistency? But now we get to the part where Matt compares present-day air travel to advertisements from the 60s to say that air travel was better when the passengers were all white. I mean, when the tickets were more expensive.
Hard to believe, but it's true. Travel by air and by train has become much slower than it was during the 1960s. Take a look at this Coke TWA ad from 1967, which passengers are all smiling as they receive hot meals. Tickets were more expensive than they are now, but in return, the experience was 10 times more comfortable and civilized.
Because it is an advertisement. I'm sorry, does Matt think that Red Bull literally gives you wings? Does Matt really think that 9 out of 10 dentists think that one toothpaste brand is better than the others?
The issue isn't simply that customers are paying less for worse service. The main reason air travel is so unpleasant is that the low prices attract passengers like this.
But now we get some clips of people having freakouts in airports and pay no attention to the fact that all of them just happen to be black.
This is what the Rosa Parks mythology has become. It's gone from, it was racist to tell Rosa Parks to give up her seat for a white person to It's racist to tell any black person to take a seat ever for any reason.
Yes, because Rosa Parks, black people could not sit on the bus. That was what it was. There was these were separate but equal policies that we had in America that were inherently racist. Yes, Matt Walsh. Holy shit, you just put two and two. Congratulations, you just figured it out.
The Parks moment. What could be going on there?
And when the FAA awards massive airport contracts on the basis of racial equity...
I'm just going to be real with you. Matt Walsh is the kind of person that would be okay with... I don't know if he'll say it on YouTube, but he's the kind of person that if we brought back slavery, he would be like 100% for bringing back slavery. That's the kind of person Matt Walsh... Like, Matt Walsh is a white supremacist. Like, he would allow slavery to exist in America if he could get away with it. And he'd see absolutely no problem with it.
They've been doing, but everything gets worse.
Once again, Matt will not provide sources on this. It's just another one of those things that you're supposed to nod along with based on vibes. But then he talks about people faking disability to get wheelchair accommodations at the airport for priority and who gets to board first. There's some truth to this one, insofar as there are people who do take advantage. My criticism is the framing.
Now, the federal law was passed, as so many laws were passed, during a time when America was a high-trust society. It didn't occur to Congress or the airlines that passengers en masse would just lie about a disability in order to get a priority access to their seat.
Yes, that wonderful period in the 80s where everything was high trust and nobody was saying anything about people committing fraud against the government.
In Chicago, they found a woman who holds the record. She used 80 names, 30 addresses, 15 telephone numbers to collect food stamps, Social Security, veterans benefits for 4 non-existent deceased veterans' husbands, as well as welfare. Her tax-free cash income alone has been running $150,000 a year.
We've imported tens of millions of people who have no regard for our culture, our way of life, or basic rules. And this is the result. And we all know that if airlines crack down on these wheelchair fraudsters, they'd be punishing an awful lot of non-white people, and that's just not allowed anymore.
Yeah, but I don't think you actually care about the fraud part, just to be clear. I don't know if you actually care that they're committing the fraud. You only care that black people are doing it. That's really the only part you care about, because if you actually cared about fraud, you wouldn't be so willing to suck up to President Trump.
It's all running cover for the inability of Republicans, and Trump specifically, to effectively run the government by shifting blame to minorities.
But Western airlines will see violence and decay like this, and they'll conclude that their problem is white people. That's...
Okay. They definitely are not concluding that white people are problematic.
It's not an exaggeration. That's what they truly believe. We've lost...
A source? Again? Matt Walsh, can you give a source for that?
It's the high-trust society that we once had, which is why we can't trust the media to tell the truth about Islamic terrorist attacks.
Oh, that's great. Can you show us that, please? Could you show us that people are actually being, like, hateful to white people? Can you show, like, any legitimate evidence for that sort of thing? Or are you just making this up as you go?
Can't trust the TSA to show up to work. Why we can't trust passengers not to steal wheelchairs and so on.
Guys, you cannot trust the media. You can't trust anybody. You cannot trust anybody. You have to trust me. You have to trust my word for it.
It's so hard if you're stupid. Thankfully, we're leaving the airports, and we're going into hospice.
All right, after Nick Shirley's extremely successful investigation into the...
Nick Shirley's successful investigation. Bro, Nick Shirley, I didn't cover it on the channel, but Nick Shirley is a fucking hack. He, like, went and just harassed a bunch of local businesses in Somalia and was, like, trying to paint some fraud, despite the fact that the fraud that was going on there was not anything new. Like, Nick Shirley didn't expose anything. That video that came out on the same day that more Epstein files were supposed to release. And that, like, again, the whole Somali fraud thing is a distraction. It was meant to be a distraction. That was the whole purpose of the Somali fraud thing happening. That's why Kash Patel tweeted out that he was trying to crack down on it. That's why Elon Musk was signal boosting it. Tons of people were trying to distract from the fact that Trump is a pedophile on the Epstein list.
Infamous Leering centers in Minneapolis. Some news outlets have now taken an interest.
No, Nick Shirley lies so fucking much in his coverage as well. Like, it's insane how much he lies. And they're like, but he's successful. Oh my God, him harassing all these businesses? Yeah. I'm right-wing and I'm fucking stupid as fuck.
In fraud stories. So CBS News has now stepped up to bat with an investigation into hospice fraud.
The right are swarming to find some other example of widespread fraud in a Democrat-held state.
Holy fucking Christ. Maybe conservatives were always stupid. Jesus fuck, dude. It's honestly, like, genuinely, like, maybe they always were so fucking, like, oh God, this is fucking God really tested me to not say a slur there. Jesus fuck.
They found? Doesn't matter. What matters is how dramatically you can describe it.
Auditors estimate that the LA County hospices overbilled Medicare by $105 million in a single year.
California's Medicaid program, Medi-Cal, has a budget of $222 billion, and the federal Medicare budget is $1.1 trillion. $105 million is a lot of money, but prior to even CBS's reporting, California was already investigating to the point that they had stopped approving licenses for hospice services.
CBS News analysis revealed that over 700 of the roughly 1,800 hospices in LA County trigger multiple red flags for...
I'm pretty sure the fraud that was happening in LA County was also not a new thing either.
Fraud as defined.
And also, like, in Nick Shirley's coverage of the LA fraud as well, like, he also just, like, harasses a bunch of, like, people and small businesses and whatever. And, like, that's the extent of his journalism. You know, when you're doing journalism, you have to take days to get all the information, sometimes weeks. Nick Shirley spends, like, one day, an entire day there, just harassing tons of different people. And that's the extent of his journalism. Like, what are you talking about? Successful journalism? He's just some random fucking loser, dumb, moronic kid that just goes and just does shit for whatever's convenient for conservatives.
By the state.
I guess it's only misinformation.
Like, you guys care, like, you guys harp about fucking misinformation that the media does, but when it comes to Nick Shirley sensationalizing the fuck out of his thing, you guys don't care.
And when they give benefit of the doubt to foreigners.
And we're only looking at the tip of the iceberg. The fraud's all over the place. We know about Minneapolis. There's mass
Guys, the fraud's all over Minneapolis, which was not anything new. The fraud's all over California, which is not anything new. Don't talk about Trump being a fraudster or a big fraudster when he had like $1 billion meme coin that he would scam people with to say, hey, you could have a personal meeting with the president if you invested in it. Like, okay, great. Fraud is bad, except when Trump does it.
No fraud taking place across our country. Which is true. Conservative estimates would say that the amount of Medicare and Medicaid fraud alone every year is like $70 or $80 billion nationwide.
And when you dig deeper to see what the typical reasons are for overbilling, that is, you go to the website and check, you can find out what the usual reasons are. Fraud, errors, and abuse, not fraud by itself, is estimated at $60 billion, which is less than 10%. And if I'm reading the report correctly, a significant amount of that is attributed to insufficient documentation or justification for procedure. Which,
yeah, again, like the whole Minneapolis, Minnesota fraud thing, this is not like anything new that was discovered. Like, again, it's meant to, like, one, I think it's meant to be a distraction from the fact that Trump is a pedophile. And two, like, people were doing this because the people in Minnesota were Somalis and black. I think that, like, people cannot pretend that that isn't a factor in the whole, like, Somali fraud thing. Like, tons of people were using it to, like, dog whistle some level of racism. I mean, you have Asmongold, who thinks that Somalian people are inherently lower IQ, which is an incredibly racist thing to spew out. And then you had Nick Shirley, who went on Andrew Callahan, Channel 5's interview, and he was just going off about how he just, like, didn't really actually give a shit about the Somali fraud and how they're inherently Muslim. And that was just, like, a massive, like, mask-off moment to Nick Shirley saying that, like, he has a problem with brown people and that he doesn't actually care about the fraud. And a lot of these people don't, because, again, if they did, Donald Trump would be condemned by them. But they don't do that.
Is not indicative of fraud or abuse. And I would encourage all of you to check me on this by looking at the numbers yourself. It's entirely possible I'm screwing up something here.
That's not including insurance fraud outside of those programs. If you look at everything together, you're looking at, you know, at least $100 billion, at least, annually in fraud, but probably much more than that, because obviously that's the thing about fraud. There's no way to know exactly how much of it is happening.
Which conveniently allows for this kind of speculation.
And the problem is that there still isn't any serious nationwide effort to crack down on it.
You really just want us to forget about Doge, huh? Miraculously, Matt somehow manages to point out the obvious.
Yeah, again, like, the whole Dogecoin was some level of fraud. And the fact that Trump had, like, $1 billion meme coin where you could meet have a meeting with the president if you invested in it.
The one thing about hospice is that in many cases it's in-home hospice care. And so in a vacuum, in and of itself, there's nothing unusual necessarily, I would think, about having a hospice office in an office building. But to have all of these, to have this sudden explosion of hospice care in this one area, and to have buildings where you've got dozens of hospice offices, and then you go and try to talk to them and they're all out to lunch at the same time, like, so we all get an idea of what's going on here.
What's going on here is that companies are aware journalists are going around asking questions that imply they are committing fraud, and they don't want to deal with that, which would be true whether they were committing fraud or not. But of course, who's to blame for all of this fraud? That's right. Black people and foreigners.
Yeah, that's what it is, really.
I hate that I have to be the one to bring this up. I don't really hate it. I don't care. But with one exception, it appears that all the people in the video that we just played are foreigners.
Are foreigner. Dude, I love the cowardly dog whistle. He has to say foreigners. Just say black people or Somalis. We know that's what you're trying to say. You say foreigners to mask how you really feel because you don't want to like get in trouble, or you're just scared to say what it actually is. Just say you hate black people. All right, like, because that's really what it is more than anything else. Like, you obviously have a hatred for any race that isn't white because you're a weird white nationalist freak.
Thing is black people and foreigners.
And actual arrests have been made, not many, but they've done some symbolic arrests over the last couple of years so they can pretend that they're actually doing something about this problem. Yesterday, Juan Carlos Esparza, Susana Harut Yanyan, Karpis Srapyan, Mihran Panasyan, and then Petros Fikizyan. Just good old-fashioned American names. The second that I heard the story and just randomly Googled the names of some recent arrests, I expected that it would just be a bunch of foreign names, and what do you know?
If you stub your toe in the morning, I bet that table was a foreigner. Accidentally burn your tongue on your coffee? I bet that coffee was black.
And that's the part of this story that the corporate media is not going to acknowledge.
Oh, ha! I get it. Because that coffee was black person, but also black coffee. Ha! I see what you did there, Conduit.
Or investigate.
I'm a coffee nerd. Don't think I didn't notice it.
And don't worry, when he blames foreigners, he goes the extra mile to also blame the countries that they came from.
Which, by the way, it's easy to conclude, well, they're behaving that way because they're in the third world and they're poor. But it's more accurate to say that they're in the third world and they're poor because they behave that way. They have a culture of theft and fraud, and it means that they will never advance. They'll never prosper.
I'm finding...
Interesting. So by that logic, with America being in such fucking disarray, with Trump committing such fraud and stealing and siphoning resources from other countries, do you think Trump himself, Trump is the foreigner that you just described there, Matt Walsh? Like, you do realize that, right?
That the only differences between Matt Walsh and Nick Fuentes are a beard and a reluctance to say that our problems are caused by Jews. The next story he decided to cover is that Grok apparently now says that America was...
It's interesting, because a lot of white supremacists just don't see Jewish people as white people. So if Matt Walsh really is like this white supremacist freak, would he draw the line at Jewish people? I guess maybe technically he would, because he works with Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire. So I'm not entirely ruling it out, but also there is a possibility that maybe he has that hatred deep down and he's just not going to say it because he doesn't want to risk losing his job at the Daily Wire. I don't know.
Not built on stolen land. This is an opportunity for Matt to call Native...
That's, by the way, I think it's important to bring that up. That's a huge source for conservative infighting, is there's a large group of conservatives that like Jewish people, and there's a large group of conservatives that don't like Jewish people. That's, definitely been, a huge part of the conservative infighting, because a lot of them don't really draw the line when it comes to making fun of black people, Asian people, or gay people, trans people, or just, any marginalized group. They only draw the line when it's Jewish. Some only draw the line when it's Jewish people, apparently.
American savages.
You've been lied to so much. Lies, myths, exaggerations, Trail of Tears, smallpox blankets, all of that. America treated the Indians.
You guys know that this is about to be a really fucking good part when he says that stuff that you're taught in American schools about the Trail of Tears and how Andrew Jackson, the president who was responsible for the Trail of Tears, that everything you've been taught about is a lie. You know you're about to be in for a good time when somebody starts off with that.
For the most part, in a very decent and merciful way. Now, there were exceptions. Atrocities were committed on both sides. Sending Indians to reservations is now seen as some great moral crime. There was
Native Americans, not Indians. This is a pet peeve of mine. I fucking hate when people say Indians because it's just factually, you're factually incorrect. You could say I'm too woke for it, or you could call me a soft lefty or whatever, but you're just factually wrong if you call them Indians. I don't care what the museums say. I don't care whatever, the plaques on, the fucking, place you go to, historical resort you go to says. The reason why there is a misconception about them being Indians is because Christopher Columbus tried to go to India, the real India, and accidentally made the wrong turn and ended up in North America instead. He mistook them for Indians. That is the reason why they are called Native American Indians, not because they actually are Indians. They are Native Americans. It really fucking irks me when people fucking get that incorrect, because it's just, you are factually wrong when you say Indian.
Famous debate, I think, in 1550 in Spain. And now you could say, if you're a moron, oh, well, it shouldn't have been up for debate. Of course the Indians were humans 500 years ago.
Oh, yeah, they are.
ago, the Spanish were way, way, way ahead of their time by even discussing something like that. You know, we're people, they're not, and we can take their stuff and kill them, and that's the way it is.
Real quick, what were your thoughts on Trump deciding that he wanted Greenland?
You are opposing the very essence of America. You're opposing America itself. To begin with, Europeans colonized and conquered the East Coast of what would become America from Maine to Georgia, and that's to say nothing of all the land that was claimed by France and other European powers. And so that's to begin with. And yes, there were people living in some of the areas that they colonized, and they got into fights with those people, and they kicked them out, and they conquered the land. So to now sound so scandalized by the very idea of it, this is what America is and has always been, and I'm proud of that. To me, I'm not ashamed of that.
Anything to be pro-Trump. It's so pathetic. It's like, what? Suddenly when... It's so pathetic. It's so fucking pathetic. Just like, it's literally is... This is just like brainlessly just being pro-Trump. On like wanting to take over Greenland. God forbid when other countries try to do it to us. Only when we do it to America, it's okay.
After that, apparently a state legislator wanted to see if there were any studies about the benefits of shoplifting and retail theft.
Even if they were, it wouldn't matter. It's still illegal. It's against the law. It's a crime. But these are not impoverished people who are shoplifting and stealing in order to survive. That doesn't exist in America, like at all.
It's not that these circumstances don't exist. It's that people aren't able to differentiate it by sight, and ultimately it's worse for everyone if you actively try to enable things like shoplifting, because that attracts more shoplifting. It creates a spiral of antisocial people helping antisocial people.
So why do people shoplift? Well, they do it just for the sake of it. They do it because they think they can get away with it. And this is what drives criminal behavior in our country in the modern age. Like we've been talking about importing people from other parts of the world in particular, who this is just what they do. And it's just kind of an indifference. It's a instinct to commit crime if you can get away with it. Why is there so much violence in the inner city? Well, why do they kill and steal and everything else? Is it desperation? Is it necessity? No, it's just because. You know, the problem is that normal, law-abiding, functional humans look at the crime problem and they try to understand it from their perspective as a normal, functioning person.
I don't think Matt
So are you saying that you're not a normal, functioning person?
Realizes his argument loops back around to defending shoplifting.
We know that we only do things if we think there's some positive reason to do them. Now, we might do the wrong thing sometimes, but if we do the wrong thing, it's because we have rationally decided that there's a benefit in doing the wrong thing, and so we're going to do the wrong thing. The guy with 50 arrests who's out on the subway platform looking for someone to push in front of a train, you could give him $10 million. You could give him $50 million. He'd be out on the subway platform tomorrow doing the exact same thing.
That's just, but yeah, that's not a real scenario. Like, yes, do we have a homelessness problem? Especially since I'm living in New York City, so I would know about this problem more than anyone. Do we have a homelessness problem? Yes, absolutely. It is a real thing. And unfortunately, a lot of these people are not mentally well. But, like, this is not a real scenario that you're naming. Like, people aren't pushing each other onto the fucking tracks. Like, that's not a real thing. It's, like, only a thing that happens, like, once in, like, maybe 1 in 2 million chance of that happening, honestly. And typically, if a homeless person is crazy, New Yorkers are smart enough to stay the fuck away from that person and ignore them. Like, it's just not a real scenario.
Unless you make him president. Then the world is his subway platform. And lastly, he decides to talk about Meghan Markle. I'm sure that given the way the media has treated Meghan in the past, Matt is going to be very empathetic.
Bit of a downer, but it's been reported that Meghan Markle's deal with Netflix has been canceled. And I take no pleasure in it. I mean, I take a little pleasure in it, but I don't really care that much one way or another. She walked away from being actual royalty because that felt too stodgy and too old-fashioned for her.
She didn't walk away. Harry did. And good for him doing it, too.
And now what is she? She's a failed podcaster. She's basically an unemployed Instagram model instead of royalty. It's amazing.
God, you know.
Yeah, and you're a right-wing grifter online, and you're just a weird loser freak that got bullied in school and just does, like, right-wing grifting online. Like, okay, Matt, yeah, you're so much better, I guess. I mean, maybe you're technically more successful, but you're still pathetic.
There's just nothing behind the eyes with Matt. It's so boring and phoned in. It really shows a contempt for his audience that he thinks all he has to do is say, hey, did you know that all of your problems are caused by foreigners?
So we thought we would play a little game of Was It Racist? With Laura Loomer's infamous Curry tweet.
By the definition advanced by, the DEI industry, it certainly would count as racist.
Yeah, with the whole Laura Loomer stuff, was it? Oh, no, I'm thinking of another person. Never mind. I thought Laura Loomer was someone else. Yeah, never mind. Scratch that.
I wouldn't call it race. I think it's just kind of a dumb joke. To me, what racism means is that you hate people of another race and or you think they're inferior to you in some way, inherently because of their, immutable characteristics. The only person who can answer whether it's racist is her. We'd have to ask her, and if she said no, then
I'll have to take her word for it.
Well, you are a racist person. Of course, Matt Walsh is going to jump through plenty of hoops to try to make it seem like, you know, you can't easily identify racism.
She's the only one who can speak to her own, you know, what's going on in her own mind and her own heart. Whatever racism you find in society now is individual. It's not systemic. These systems are not set up to disadvantage, quote unquote, people of color.
So when did we get to a point where it wasn't systemic and it was no longer a problem?
Well, I'm not sure that you could point to one exact moment in time, but what we know for sure is that right now, we are certainly in the moment where it's not systemic. So if you wanted to point to an exact moment, I mean, I guess the most obvious moment would be the Civil Rights Act. Okay, but so can you point to me an exact point of the system, an exact place in the system?
So, yeah, I mean, again, it's not, this is the Charlie Kirk take of the Civil Rights Act was a terrible thing. Matt Walsh is basically saying the same thing. Got it. Cool. But love it, dude.
A policy that is designed.
Hey, guys, we can't determine other people being racist, and like there's nuance, and also like, you know, the only person that can decide who's racist is the person who's saying the thing. Also, I just said that the Civil Rights Act was a bad thing, an inherently racist thing, or inherently an act that was meant to combat racism. Wow. He's literally just handing me the fucking argument on a silver platter. Like, that's what Matt Walsh is doing. Like, you just gave it to, you gave me that one for free.
To deprive black Americans of rights.
After they implemented school desegregation. Oh, okay, well, we can't legally keep black people out of our neighborhoods or out of our schools, but what we can do is we can secede from our neighborhoods, basically gerrymandered. Like, they would know where the white people were, and they would gerrymander the school district so that only white people would be a part of this.
Yeah, but you're going back to desegregation.
No, this is what they're doing now. Like, this is up to today.
I don't think that there's...
Where are they doing that?
Any evidence that it's racist. I think in like an example you give, it's class, it's people wanting to avoid crime-ridden, impoverished areas. Here's another point that rarely comes up. It's pretty simple. You can move.
When you see stats that say like a black homeowner who's trying to get a mortgage, who has a higher credit score and higher income, gets a higher interest rate from the average bank than a white applicant. Overall, like there have been so many studies that have replicated this. Systemically, what it does is it makes it easier for white people to move into these wealthier neighborhoods, harder for black people.
So for the sake of argument, let's say that those studies are totally legit. I would still go back to a class issue on that. And the reason is that banks care about the money. That's all they care about. These banks are not being run by people who are saying, we got to keep black people poor. I think the banks would have the same sort of skeptical, discriminatory attitude in that case as they would to someone who they're assuming is from the inner city, let's say. They are biased against people they don't think will pay their mortgage, basically.
Right, and so why don't they think a person with a black name will pay their mortgage?
If that is true, then they're making assumptions they're making class-based assumptions. This is a lower income person coming from a low income neighborhood, even if their current income is, the same as. Well, it's never a good sign when news anchors begin struggling to keep track of all the Islamic terror attacks that are occurring throughout the United States.
Day 3 and 1.
Yeah, because I'm sure your description of the quote-unquote Islamic terrorist attacks are an accurate representation, Mr. Walsh.
Once again, we begin on the media failing to tell you about how Islamic the Islamic terrorists are when they shout it's Muslim time and start morbing all over the place.
Not exactly a ringing endorsement of post-9/11 foreign policy in this country, which doubled the Muslim population in the United States.
Is Matt going to talk about literally anything else?
Like the terrorists who attacked the synagogue, and like the terrorists who shot 18 people in Austin, and like the parents of the 2 New York City bombers who tried to kill Jake Lang, Mohammed Baylor Jallow was a naturalized citizen of the U.S.
I guess not. Today, Matt is covering another Islamic terrorist attack which occurred at Old Dominion University, committed by a guy named Mohammed Jallow, who supported ISIS. This one is special because where the Jake Lang attack allowed him to talk about Islamic terrorism and immigration, this one allows him to talk about Islamic terrorism and denaturalization. Really uncharted territory.
Like the terrorists who attacked the synagogue, and like the terrorists who shot 18 people in Austin, and like the parents of the 2 New York City bombers who tried to kill Jake Lang, Mohammed Baylor Jallow was a naturalized citizen of the U.S. Our government, without any obligation to do so, awarded citizenship to all of these terrorists.
The parents of those 2 kids were not terrorists. You do not get to lump them in with everyone else here.
The problem is that Mohammed Jallow remained a naturalized citizen even after he pleaded guilty in 2017 to providing material support to ISIS. We didn't take away his citizenship even after he did the one thing that under our current law would obviously justify it.
Maybe it would be justified in a broader ideological sense, but speaking constitutionally, it is actually really important that for those who have it, citizenship cannot be revoked as a punishment.
If somebody looks like...
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends, right? Like, sometimes you have, and I noticed this last year at Columbia University in Manhattan, New York, there was a bunch of pro-Palestinian protests. Now, inherently, that's not a bad thing. Obviously what Israel is doing is objectively, they are committing war crimes onto Palestine. That's terrible. But unfortunately, a lot of people have used these as tools to communicate pro-Hamas propaganda and like hatred to Jewish people. Unfortunately, we've seen a rise of anti-Semitism as a result of the October 7th attacks, and that's just a fact, unfortunately. Not every single pro-Palestinian person is anti-Semitic. I want to make that very clear. But that's just what we've been seeing. And a lot of students that were attending these pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University were on visas. And the visas that they were on, I believe they actually had some of their visa privileges revoked as a result of like vandalizing the library and like being disruptive in college campuses for the name of Palestine. And I'm just thinking to myself, going to Columbia University is like a privilege. Like, that is not an easy school to get into. The fact that you've been able to get into Columbia University, let alone on a visa, and you still like were kind of disruptive to the library and like breaking shit and like spraying, like vandalizing property, like, yeah, at a certain point I'm like, maybe you should get some repercussions for it. Now, whether or not it's removing your citizenship, I don't know how proportionate that is, but it's still definitely like you are coming into the country for a privilege, right? Like, if you're wasting that privilege, it is a little bit hard to feel bad for you in a situation like that, right? Unfortunately, you have people like Matt Walsh who are going to use this as a vehicle to communicate that all Muslim people or all quote-unquote foreigners are bad because they're disruptive and they are trying to destroy our environment and everything, and they're just going to perpetrate a victim complex, and that's obviously not the case either. It just sucks, man. No one really wins here.
Terrorist if he's a lone Muslim with bad paperwork who keeps demanding that you sell him a rifle, or if he's a blue-haired man who insists that you call him a woman.
Statistically, queer people are much more likely to be victims of gun violence rather than the perpetrator. Matt is inserting that comment to imply that trans people are deranged.
Just like we saw in many, many other cases, common sense came to an...
Yeah, again, it's very interesting that Matt Walsh will say that sources will provide you information that proves that the left is more violent or that the left are more fucking deranged and crazy, and then he proceeds to provide no sources on it whatsoever. It's like, source? Anything? Can you show me anything?
Abrupt end once the legal system got involved.
So Matt goes into the details of the investigation into Jallow and how the FBI seemingly encouraged him towards being a terrorist instead of deporting him.
And over the next few months, according to Jallow's attorneys, the FBI informants, quote, shaped and influenced his views using text messages, phone calls, and 2 in-person meetings.
Let's step back here and take a look at what's actually happening. Matt is simultaneously saying that this guy should have been denaturalized and deported, and that he was being entrapped by the FBI to commit an act of terrorism. For all intents, what this becomes is an argument for ginning up crimes to justify deportation.
Now, we have no way of knowing exactly what the FBI said during these text messages and phone calls because they're not public record. At the same time, it's no secret that the FBI, as a matter of policy, routinely uses informants to convince targets to engage in criminal activity. Additionally, the FBI has been known to protect terrorists who have a connection to its informants. Not many people know this because the government tried to hide it, but the father of the Pulse nightclub shooter was an FBI informant.
Okay, so one, what does Matt think of the Pulse nightclub shooting itself?
On Friday, Biden signed into law a measure designating the Pulse nightclub as a national memorial. Now, we should mention, because it matters, because it's the truth, that this connection that they're trying to make now and that Biden is sort of implying, and that we hear in media between anti-gay hate and the Pulse nightclub shooting, that connection is not real.
Two, to elaborate on what Matt's talking about, during the trial of the Pulse shooter's wife for alleged
I think I know what he was talking about. There was a nightclub shooting in 2017 at a gay nightclub, which fucking, that's sucks. Obviously, the person that did it has like hatred towards gay people. Again, another example of right-wing violence. Once again.
Complicity in the attack. Her defense tried to get a mistrial on the grounds that they weren't told her father-in-law, the shooter's father, was an FBI informant.
An FBI intelligence report indicates that agents told an unidentified undercover informant that they were investigating Mateen. The informant then became very upset that Mateen was under scrutiny, according to the report.
From there, her lawyer speculated that he was told his son was being investigated by the FBI, and he told them to back off. Now, there is a possibility of this being the case. However, no evidence has been brought forth that would prove it. But why is Matt bringing all of this up? Well, in my English as a first language video on Candace Owens, click here to watch, I went over how you can use layers of truth to sell something you might otherwise think is absurd as legitimate.
So let's take this back to the case of Mohammed Jallow. Did the federal government see him as a potential informant to be protected? Did they buy his story that he was reformed and deliberately spring him loose in order to set more traps for other terrorists? I mean, that's not a far-fetched conspiracy at all. The FBI does it all the time. They've also been known...
Based on what? Again, source? Do you have any examples for that?
To encourage terrorists to commit mass shootings.
And nothing. Because Matt Walsh never fucking backs up anything. The problem with Matt Walsh is that, like, he'll say a thing and he just expects you to believe it. And, because Matt Walsh, I will give him one thing. He's very good at, like, attempting to sound intelligent or attempting to, like, be, I guess, pretentious when it comes to his intelligence. And so that's probably going to get other people to go like, oh, wow, this guy seems intellectual. He knows what he's talking about. He very well dressed, he's got glasses. He seems to be talking about politics very well. I'll just take his word for it. He expects you to believe the things that he's saying. But when you actually break it down, it's a load of horse shit.
Matt takes the fact that the FBI has recruited informants and monitored suspected terrorists who ended up carrying out attacks in the past to say that this could be what's happening now. And if he left it at that, I would just call this speculation. But Matt takes it a step further.
Nobody asked any more questions. That seems to be the goal with the case of Mohammed Jallow as well. Now, if you're the cynical type and you're left to speculate, because that's all we can do when we're not given the full story, you might conclude that maybe there's some authoritarian political motives here. I mean, you might point to the fact that the same week that Jallow opened fire in Virginia, a Virginia state senator named Saddam Aslan Salim...
Guys, a Muslim person trying to be an authoritarian dictator, that's a pretty bad thing. That's awful. When President Trump tries to be an authoritarian dictator, now that's pretty base. This is what America's about.
Yes, his name is literally Saddam.
Wow. Fuck off.
Helped pass a major unconstitutional anti-gun bill that he sponsored, which prohibits so-called assault firearms.
Now, again, it's just like everything has to be a fucking dog whistle. He's just like, his name is literally Saddam, guys. Ooh, connection to the Gulf War, Saddam Hussein. It's like, dude, it's just like, everything has to be a fucking dog whistle. I swear to God.
This is what we call a conspiracy theory. What Matt has just laid out is that the government engineered a terrorist attack as a distraction to pass state-level gun control. It's unfortunate for Matt that this isn't nearly as exciting as time travel and mystical Jews.
Is this the kind of result the Bureau is hoping for? We really don't know. We can conclude that our leadership class has implemented a regime in which, number one, you subsidize foreigners who hate you and try to kill you. And number two, when they do kill you or your neighbors, they use that as a pretext to strip everybody's constitutional rights. And it's not just Democrats who are doing this. Nearly 24 Republicans in the Senate just voted against legislation that would strip welfare funding from so-called, quote-unquote, refugees. So again and again, our leaders are taking the side of foreign invaders. So these acts of terrorism will continue at an ever-increasing pace.
They have been decreasing.
Unless the government starts denaturalizing and deporting a lot more of these foreigners, a lot more.
Foreign does not mean terrorist.
And until that happens, and it may never happen, we have to do exactly what they did in Michigan and Virginia. We have to be ready to defend.
In a weird way, he's actually kind of like going mask off when he says foreigner in that context, and I'm going to tell you why. Like, we obviously know that Matt Walsh hates foreigners. Like, he's made it abundantly clear that he thinks foreigners are the enemy. But, like, we're talking about, like, a terrorist conspiracy theory, right? And, like, he used foreigner in the context of terrorism right then and there. That also is just, like, kind of another mask-off moment that it's not actually about the foreigners. It's because you think all foreigners are terrorists, which is inherently just a racist viewpoint, if that's honestly what you think.
Defend ourselves.
Be afraid of everyone, everywhere, all of the time. Violence is just around the corner. You are alone. No one loves you. Dad didn't really go out for cigarettes. You know how the Twitter algorithm is designed to piss you off for the sake of continued engagement? That's just Matt's show. Matt's next story is about how California wants to recognize 2 Muslim holidays as state holidays. You can imagine how he feels about this.
They want to make the Muslim holidays of Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha into state holidays.
Of course, he's upset about this because he considers America a Christian nation and he doesn't want to give Muslims credit for anything that we might have done in our history.
And if you're a stupid person, you might say, well, but Christian holidays are recognized by the state. Well, actually, to begin with, that is barely true. Christmas is the only federally recognized Christian holiday. I mean, this is the whole problem with the multicultural approach, with the cult of multiculturalism. What has Islam contributed to California? Literally nothing. Not a single thing. That's the answer.
For a guy who's so critical about the way people present themselves, he uses the word literally wrong a lot.
Again, the most generous thing we can say about it is that it's irrelevant. And that's why Christmas deserves to be a national holiday.
I'm sorry, but some of these long pauses make it so unintentionally funny that you can kind of forget just how racist this all is.
Everyone in America loves Christmas. Even if you're Jewish or Muslim or Hindu, you know about Christmas, you have positive associations with it, Christmas music, decorations, colors, Christmas movies, the whole thing.
Listen, I don't hate Christmas, but as someone who isn't Christian, I have always felt out of place in the environment of the Christmas season. Matt does not speak for me.
What about Eid al-Fitr? What is that?
I'd say you should be the one telling people what it is since you're the one who's complaining about it, but I'd rather you didn't even try.
And what does that tell you?
After that might be the most unintentionally interesting story of the week because Matt is going to go over Erica Kirk conspiracies.
Amplified by guys like...
Oh, that's interesting. Great. So we got I mean, like, again, Matt Walsh hangs out with Candace Owens, so it doesn't really surprise me that he's going to perpetrate some of the same conspiracy theories that she does.
Like...
That, like, fucking Erica Kirk somehow killed her own husband, which is, like, impossible. Though I guess... I don't know, she doesn't seem too unhappy that her husband died, so maybe there is some validity to it. I don't know. Little asterisk next to it. Asterisk? Ugh.
Carol and other quote-unquote independent creators.
It was here more than any other moment in the time that I watched him that Matt showed just how self-aware he really is.
And basically the Post claimed that an audio recording, which they also posted the audio recording, depicts Erica helping to facilitate sex trafficking for Jeffrey Epstein. So this person was accusing Erica as a child of being involved.
Is your source on fucking Twitter? Because, like, I don't, to my understanding... Like, I don't think Erica Kirk was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm pretty sure that was, like, a rumor that was spread on Twitter, and then it just got, like, out of control. Like, yeah, listen, Erica Kirk's not a good person. I don't really like her. I think she's very opportunistic, but I don't think she was doing anything with Epstein.
In a facilitating capacity with sex trafficking.
You know that Erica Kirk being a right-wing nutjob does not in itself imply that any of the conspiracy theories around her are legitimate.
Not even bothering to throw in an allegedly or to couch the accusation in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was just like a thing that spread on Twitter that just like got out of control. I don't think that like it has any legitimacy. I wouldn't doubt that Matt Walsh probably uses Twitter as his source for shit. It wouldn't surprise me.
That post got 11 million views.
What's worth pointing out here is the way that Matt can easily dissect these accusations and read between the lines of intent and characterization, but he doesn't seem to realize that all of those criticisms would also apply to him.
And now he did do the smarmy, cowardly, passive-aggressive thing of allowing yourself plausible deniability, because he reposted it and said it was something like, wow, this sounds an awful lot like her. And then later he could backtrack what he did and say, well, I never said it was her. What are you talking about? I wasn't trying to. I didn't imply anything.
But let's just hear what he has to say and see if it doesn't line up with what we've already heard.
I know what you're doing, and you know what you're doing. Common sense shows what you're doing. I can't prove what's in your own head. I can't prove what's in your heart.
And if she said no, then I'll have to take her word for it. She's the only one who can speak to her own, what's going on in her own mind and her own heart.
Day 3 is done, and if you've ever worked in a fast food joint, you know how the oil smell kind of sticks to your skin after you're done with a shift? That's how it feels every day after I'm done watching Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I be working at a cafe-ish location, well, somewhat. So yeah, that hit close to me more than you can imagine, Conduit.
As I've already established, I
love how everything we learned after watching Matt Walsh is just racism.
Her dog Penny. If she attacked one of my kids, she's gone. Easy decision.
Do you even have a kid?
I've never understood the people.
Does Matt Walsh actually have kids? I don't know for sure.
Will treat this like it's like there's any kind of question. It's something we need to think about.
I guess he does have a ring on. Maybe he is married and has kids. I don't know. God, I pray for your fucking kids, dude, because they have such a bad, really disgusting father that's just like has to say racist shit to stay relevant.
Like it's a tough call. And I've especially never understood the people, and this is what I've said over the years that gets me in trouble. It just makes me want to say it more. The people who treat their pets as children. I think it's we're all a family together. I think it's a sickness. I think it's deranged. It's also a sickness of the modern world. People insist on treating animals as equal to human. A lot of people obviously have pets instead of kids because pets are easier. And that's why people prefer pets over children. The reason is because they prefer themselves over children. When people say things like, dogs are better than people. Dogs would never commit terrorism or do mass shootings. Yeah, your dog wouldn't do that because he doesn't have opposable thumbs. There are definitely dog breeds that would do terrorism if they could. But mostly, yes, it's true that dogs don't commit acts of evil like humans do. And that's because dogs don't make moral choices. Dogs are not moral animals. You could just be rational, as I am. Dogs respond to incentives. Dogs respond to instinct. Dogs don't wrestle with the morality of a thing. So while dogs don't do the evil that human beings do, they also don't commit the acts of virtue and courage that humans do. There's no such thing as a virtuous dog. And anyone wants to push back on that and say, no, my dog is very virtuous. There can be virtuous dogs. Okay, well then you're saying that dogs make moral choices, which means you would also have to say that there are evil dogs. And yet you don't want to admit that either. Because when a dog bites someone, you say it's not the dog, it's the owner. So what you're saying is that dogs are capable of moral choices, but they only ever make good moral choices. So they're basically...
I don't think it's so black and white. Like, dogs can be like vicious born inherently. Same for cats. Cats can also just be like born vicious. That's just how it is. You know, is it the fault of the animal necessarily? No, not necessarily, because like they're sometimes just wired to do that. You know, it's not so black and white. Every dog is different. It's like he's like trying to apply this like blanket statement to like every single fucking like dog that exists, and he's just this is a debate pervert logic. Like he's being a total debate pervert for on like on one of the stupidest points as well. Like this isn't even like that relevant of a conversation.
Angelic creatures. It's like a whole new theology.
Day 4 is about how woke is destroying Democrat-led cities, and now the rich people in those cities are fleeing to red states. I'm sure this will be totally ideologically consistent and coherent, and also not involve black people making it worse.
So they didn't get much attention for obvious reasons, but believe it or not, a handful of white people actually managed to win major civil rights lawsuits during the BLM revolution. And one of the most egregious examples involved Starbucks, which was run by CEO Howard Schultz at the time.
From the get-go, he's firing on all cylinders. If the engine he's operating is in the General Lee.
Yeah, I mean, this is new information to me. When the fuck did BLM have anything to do with Starbucks? I mean, I get, like, Starbucks is no stranger to controversy, but, like, holy shit, dude, when did BLM have anything to do with Starbucks? That's a new one.
Now, you may remember this sordid episode in American history when a couple of black guys walked into a Starbucks and sat down without placing an order. The store wouldn't let them loiter or use the bathroom without making a purchase, which makes sense since it's a private business and they don't want the property to become a crack house.
Wow, that was just...
That is insane. They don't want the property to become a crack house? How is that not, like, racist? Like, you're saying, what, because they're black, they're more likely to make the place a crack house? Like, what the fuck, dude?
A wild statement. And it's even more egregious when you consider that the men in question settled with the city over this fiasco for a symbolic $1 and $200,000 towards grants for young entrepreneurs.
But the two black guys decided that this was their Rosa Parks moment, and they refused to leave, to the point that they were arrested for trespassing.
This is the second time he's referenced black people refusing to get up from a seat as a Rosa Parks moment. I could just rhetorically ask if there's anything to read into there, but I'm lazy, so I'll let Matt do it.
I know what you're doing, and you know what you're doing. Common sense shows what you're doing, but I can't prove what's in your own head. I can't prove what's in your heart. Now, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better illustration of how self-described progressives like Howard Schultz operate.
Howard Schultz left the Democratic Party in 2019 because he thought they went too far left. More importantly, Starbucks had a gross profit of $4 billion in 2023. $25 million isn't nothing, but it's...
And sure, you know, there is, like, some valid criticism that, like, you know, overly far-left people are very annoying. You know, like, the purity testing is just so obnoxious in a lot of far-left spaces. And, like, the level of audience capture, mainly in online spaces more than anything. The thing is that I just don't have any room in my heart to care for far-left spaces right now, just because the far-right is just so much worse currently. They are, like, objectively just fucking worse. They're trying to, like, take over Greenland, and they're trying to defend pedophilia. And, like, murder people based on the groups they identify with. It's fucking insane. The far-right is much, much worse.
Certainly was not a substantial hit.
He makes a big show of major reform in the name of equity. He says that he'll make Starbucks lobbies and bathrooms open to everybody, whether they make a purchase or not. So he'll turn them into, you know, basically like refugee camps.
Refugee camps is an excessively...
It's such loaded language. It's just like the dog whistling is fucking crazy.
Inflammatory description meant to imply that your local Starbucks became a haven for foreigners like everything else.
Starbucks has started opening offices in Tennessee for up to 2,000 employees to escape the mayhem of Seattle.
What Matt isn't saying is that while the offices will employ up to 2,000 people, they're only relocating dozens from the Seattle offices, which they've confirmed are staying as their headquarters.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
There's now an epidemic of rich leftists fleeing from Democrat-controlled jurisdictions. Meanwhile,
source? Who's the rich leftist that you're referring to?
Mark Zuckerberg, who spent $500 million to help...
I can name one for you. Hassan Parker is one.
Elects Democrats in...
Literally, I did it for you, Matt. Can you not name one?
2020.
That's not what he spent it on. He donated it to nonprofits that helped transition our election system so we could deal with COVID. But then Matt has problems with transitioning in general, so...
Well, Matt's probably going to be one of those people that says that COVID was fake or something because he's a conspiracy theorist and he hangs out with Candace Owens. And a lot of MAGA thinks that COVID was fake because Trump said it was fake and Trump didn't think COVID was that big of a deal.
Just announced the purchase of a mansion in Miami, so he's apparently leaving California as well.
Apparently, being a key word to this assumption given that Zuckerberg still has several homes in California and an entire compound in Hawaii.
And on it goes. We're witnessing a mass exodus of billionaires from states that have been destroyed by their politics.
It is not a mass exodus. These CEOs are not leftists. Leftists would not give Donald Trump money. Leftists would not give money to Republicans in general. Matt has an agenda, and he's committing to the bit.
Right now, without any foreign migration, California would lose something like 120,000 people per year. On the other hand, Texas is on track to gain hundreds of thousands of residents, even without any foreign migration. So is Florida. So a lot of people, not just the wealthy, are escaping these hellholes that Democrats have created.
It is farcical to frame this as rich people fleeing because of crime and poverty when the crime rate of Matt Walsh's own city, Nashville, Tennessee, is near enough twice that of both New York and Los Angeles. And as for the population decreases, if you want to link that to any one primary thing, it's housing costs, meaning that the demand to live there has not actually gone down.
For the most part, the only people who are willing to live in New York or downtown Los Angeles are coming here from the third world, so they don't mind seeing people.
It's just so not true. It's like people are living in LA and New York because they're coming from the third world. If a lot of these third world countries are as poor as you say they are, they're not going to be living in LA and New York, which are inherently expensive places to live in. That doesn't make any sense. Pick one, Matt. Is it too expensive to live in or not? Like, you got to pick one. Like, pick a struggle, dude.
Crap on the streets and all of that. Feels like home.
There's plenty to criticize about the ways city and state governments operate, but this is just rewriting history in order to blame the left. Matt's entire ideology is a string of contradictions that tie your brain in knots. These cities are crime-ridden hellholes because of immigration, but the immigrants' ability to actually come here is dependent upon these cities being a desirable place to be. What Matt is saying is that these people are simultaneously making these cities worse because they're dirty foreigners, and that they're taking all of the high-paying jobs.
These are the kind of people who are doing most of the damage, by the way.
I'm personally against wealth taxes, but I wouldn't start my criticism of it with, look at these women celebrating.
It's a group of women who are elated. They're genuinely thrilled to be taking other people's money. But Democrats in Washington State, they're not concerned about any of that. They have an openly socialist female mayor in Seattle who admits that she relies on her parents to pay her bills.
The horror.
So their plan, apparently, is to girl boss their way through this. That'd be one thing if these women could point to a way in which all their government spending to this point has actually benefited American taxpayers. But they can't do that because government spending is mostly fraudulent, as we've seen. Whenever Democrats implement massive taxes, they squander the money on fraud and nonprofits that launder the money.
Once again, Matt wants us to forget that Doge tried to find all the fraud and they could not.
Take a look at this data, which was collected by the researcher Charlie Smirkley. It says, quote, New York City spends more per homeless person than the median New York City household earns, $81,705 per person.
Wait, spending tripled, the population, hold on.
Take a look at this data, which was collected by the researcher Charlie Smirkley. It says, quote, New York City spends more per homeless person than the median New York City household earns, $81,705 per person. And guess what? In that period, by most estimates, the homeless population has only increased by at least 30%. In that period, by median...
Oh, the homeless population. Nothing in this stats shows that the homeless population increased. It's just, well, hold on. Nominal... There's something very misleading about these statistics. I'm not going to lie. I really would like to see Matt Walsh show like the actual source of this article, like where this article is coming from. He says credit to Charlie Smirkley, but that doesn't tell me where the article necessarily comes from. It just says who wrote the article. There's something about this article that's like very misleading, and I can't lay my finger on what it is.
New York City household earns $81,705 per person. And guess what? In that period, by most estimates, the homeless population has only increased.
But that's only, but that's only one point of it, though. That's not really at, like, that doesn't describe the entire I don't know. There's something so off about this.
$105 per person. And guess what? In that period, by most estimates, the homeless population has only increased by at least 30%.
Again, homelessness rose with housing costs. So if I read the actual stats correctly, and again, I'd encourage you to look this stuff up yourself to confirm, according to the City of New York's own reporting, the number of homeless increased, but the actual rate of unsheltered homelessness decreased, and the city actually has it in their planning to decrease the budget by 2029. But who knows if that will pan out. The point is...
It's tough to say. I mean, like, I guess Mamdani would, like, try to mitigate it as much as possible, though Mamdani can't please everybody, and he can't do everything the best way possible. I mean, I'd like to think that he's done a pretty good job so far, but, you know, anything could change, I suppose.
This isn't the complete disaster Matt frames it as.
But yeah, no, the way Conduit Source seems to make a little more sense to me, because there's something very, I don't know, man, like these stats, like looking at it, it just feels like these stats are a little bit like skewed. You know what I mean? It feels like he's doing the classic conservative talking point where he's cherry picking and circling one specific point of the stat and being like, oh, look, that's like the flat increase of homelessness. You know what I mean? It feels something about that's so weird to me. For all I know, he could actually be correct on that, but I just like, given Matt's track record with misrepresenting information, it's hard to tell.
Except for how expensive and fraudulent it must be for the richest city in the world to spend the most amount of money on its homeless population, that it still manages to keep over 95% sheltered.
And some estimates say the increase was closer to 80%. You're spending more on homeless people, giving them more free stuff, and as a consequence, you end up...
No one's giving homeless people free shit. Unless you, like, feel really bad for them. Like, you go on the subways and they beg, and, like, there are people that will give them free stuff. Like, yeah, that is, like, a thing. So, like, yeah, they, only out of pity, though. But, like, you're acting as if, like, the food stamps or, like, society in general or, like, the government is, like, giving homeless people, like, free shit. Like, that no one's doing that.
With more homeless people. So where did the money go? Well, it went to Democrat-aligned nonprofits and NGOs and activists. They waste...
Of course, dude. Of fucking course. Anything to make the left or the Democrats look bad disingenuously. That's what I'm talking about. It's just, like, jumping through so many fucking hoops. Like, anything to make them look terrible.
Tens of millions of dollars all the time. None of these nonprofits...
It's just, like, it's constant, like, casting doubt over and over again.
Profits of any incentive to actually fix the problem of homelessness, because if they did that, the money would disappear.
So to start with, nonprofits do not have the power to end homelessness because they do not operate as a means of ending homelessness. It's the same way nobody criticizes hospitals because people still get sick.
If anything, they have an incentive to make the problem worse, which is exactly what they're doing.
Matt doesn't care about these issues as problems to be solved. He only cares about wielding them against Democrats. Because when he wields them as weapons against Democrats, you stop thinking about the problems with Republicans. You might be...
I mean, ultimately, we've kind of just reached a point where the only time Matt will bring up an issue is to paint black people as bad or to paint the Democrats as bad. Like, really, that's those are the only times he's ever going to bring up an issue, or if he's going to be pro-Trump on something as well. That too.
Thinking that Democrats are worse for poor people. At the same time, Republicans are busy gutting our social services.
They certainly don't have any incentive to tell the truth, which is that fixing homelessness is impossible. Practically speaking, you can't force people not to become drug addicts. You can't force people not to alienate their family and friends so they have no one around them who wants to help them. Even if PATH had built that hotel for the homeless, it still wouldn't have helped them. They would have just destroyed the place. If you want to fight homelessness, the best you can do is create the economic conditions where people can get jobs and close the border so that fentanyl doesn't flow into the country.
The primary importer of fentanyl is American citizens at ports of entry.
And then let people make their own choices. But Democrats oppose all of that. We're meant to ignore all the waste and conclude that the real problem is that taxes simply aren't high enough. The red states, particularly Florida and Texas, are attracting tens of thousands of new residents precisely because their governments have rejected the ideology of the deadbeats.
The confession is hidden in the description. These people are moving to red states, but they still have their blue state opinions. Ergo, they aren't moving for ideological reasons. For all intents, it's because they got priced out of where they were living. The red states aren't doing anything to attract these people on economic grounds because they care more about the cultural grounds. The demand is still there to live in the blue states, not the red ones. The higher cost of living in blue states means that there is still much greater demand to live there than in the red states. But because people get priced out, they're stuck in the red ones.
The problem is that most of these new residents aren't renouncing the socialist ideology that they're running away from. They're like a Mongol horde.
Up next.
You also have to remember that with a lot of these, like, weird conservative fucking freaks, the word socialist is a slur. Like, they tried to do this with Mamdani when, like, tons of right-wing freaks were spewing disinformation about Zoran Mamdani because they were terrified about him getting elected as mayor. So they had no choice but to lie about him constantly on Twitter for no reason. And I'm just of the opinion, like, listen, if you can handle voting for a president that fucks up an entire country, you can handle voting for a mayor that might potentially fuck up a city. Like, you'll survive. If you can survive Trump, you can survive Mamdani.
Trump will withhold his endorsement from Republicans who don't vote for the SAVE Act.
At this point, Thune says that he will not abolish the filibuster or implement the talking filibuster. And in fact, he said the measure is unlikely to pass. That's all he's intending to do. This is all a big symbolic move to get Democrats on the record that they oppose this bill, which we already know they do. They can pass it. They have the means. The president is calling on them to use the means at their disposal. American people on their side, voter ID is very popular. There is no excuse. The only reason they will give and have given for failing to use the means at their disposal, talking filibuster or abolishing the filibuster entirely, they're worried that the Democrats will do the same. You know, when they get into power, Democrats will do the same. And as I've argued many times, that reasoning just doesn't work because there's no limiting principle to it. If it's justified to decline to push forward your agenda, in this case, for fear of Democrat reprisal when they get into power, well, then it will always be justified, and you'll never push through your agenda at any point because there will always be the risk. No, the certainty that Democrats will be in power again.
I'd like to point out for any Farrier enthusiasts.
No. I mean, it's always been Democrat. Essentially what he just said there is, like, it's always been Democrats that have been, like, fucking pulling us out of a crisis, always. Like, Biden got us through COVID fairly well, especially considering the fact that Trump tried to downplay it and make it not as big of a deal before state of emergency was declared in a majority of the places. Barack Obama, while not perfect, definitely got us through some crises very well. Again, it's always like conservatives that are putting us through fucking terrible, horrific, dog shit crises, and then the Democrats have to constantly bring it back every single time when they get elected into office again. The same thing is going to happen with Trump. Trump has been an abysmal dog shit president, and the unfortunate reality is that a lot of conservatives just look for instant gratification. And Trump, for a decent amount of time, gave that instant gratification, but more and more people are starting to realize how bad of a president he is.
Out there that when considering the right way to move forward, if you're in alignment with your ideological opponents on tactics, you should get better tactics.
The next time that the Dems have Congress and the White House, which might be in 2028, gloves are off, bets are off, and they're going to do it. They're going to pursue their agenda ruthlessly. Because the other thing that's happened...
Trump has been doing that the entire time that he's been in office. Like, you guys do the same thing. What are you talking about?
Is we had the assassination of one of the most important conservative political figures in the world, and that was just one example.
No one gave a shit about Charlie Kirk a week after he died, I'm sorry. What happened to him was terrible, but, like, it was so quick, and now his legacy is getting memed to death online. And also, Charlie Kirk himself was not a good person. He said that the Civil Rights Act was a terrible thing. Charlie Kirk thinks that, like, he probably thinks that slavery is not that big of a deal. He says if a black person pilots an airplane, that you put everyone else on that plane in danger, which is a very fucking racist thing. Like, Charlie Kirk was a white supremacist and was in support of white supremacy, and also would force his 12-year-old daughter to give birth to a rapist's baby. So, yeah, Charlie Kirk was not a good person. He has spent his entire career trying to remove gay marriage and remove the rights to gay and trans people. Like, his entire career. He is not a good person. You shouldn't murder him, but, like, that's just where we're at. If you are a shit person trying to do these shit things, people are going to do shit things to you back. And no one really cared. Like, it was so quick. Like, people stopped caring about Charlie Kirk's death, like, after a week.
Of brutal left-wing militant violence. And
okay. Yeah, the right's never been violent. January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. Nobody wants you to talk about January 6th. They want you to forget about January 6th, January 6th, conspiracy theorist, January 6th.
In response to that, has there been any kind of major nationwide crackdown on left-wing militants and extremists and those...
No, because it's not as big as you're trying to make it out to be.
...who are funding and facilitating and encouraging and promoting this violence?
Again, it's not as big as you're making it out to be. The stats prove that the right is more violent. That is just a fact. Statistically, the right-wing violence is more dangerous and more prevalent. It's always has been.
Matt Walsh intentionally fails to realize here is that the left-wing militants are all focused on Israel right now.
Well, guess what? When Democrats get in office, they're going to do that to us. The only difference is that we haven't committed any crimes. Doesn't matter to them.
Guys, we've never committed any crimes. January 6th, January 6th. Nobody wants you to talk about January 6th, January 6th.
Right-wing extremist violence basically doesn't exist. I mean,
January 6th, January 6th, January 6th.
Almost never happens.
Also, Donald Trump celebrating the death of people and also being the #1 escalator of political violence in this country, using ICE to murder people and to shoot people and to terrorize other people. But sure, right-wing violence doesn't exist, sure.
And anytime it does happen, it is going to be a true, quote-unquote lone wolf. We don't have the organizations, institutions set up, funding and facilitating this kind of thing.
Yeah, none of what you're saying right now is real, by the way. It's all just, like, in your head.
Yeah, it's not like you have the President of the United States pardoning them, one of whom you defended earlier in the week.
Meanwhile, in the case...
Oh, yeah, and some of the people that he pardoned in the J6 riots, some of them had child porn charges on them. So that's interesting. Trump seems to be totally fine with pedophiles. I mean, he was trying to, like, pardon P. Diddy, and he wanted to, like, remove Andrew Tate's travel ban to Romania. Like, Trump is totally fine with predators, considering he is one on the Epstein files. Most likely.
Of the left.
Trump, release the client list. But you won't. I know you won't.
You've got this actual conspiracy to commit violence all over the country, and there has...
Sure, dude. Okay. It's just, like, fucking really just, like, making up stories about the left being violent.
Not been any serious major crackdown. I mentioned this the other day, and someone said, well, they just arrested 7 Antifa people in Texas or whatever. Okay, great.
Dude, Antifa's not real. Shut the fuck up.
You're not in power to do the bare minimum.
Next door.
Like, Antifa is about as real as fucking Santa Claus is when you tell the kids that Santa is real.
Zoran Mamdani cares about queer people in New York.
It's called the Office of LGBTQIA+ Affairs. The so-called queer...
Oh no, the worst thing ever.
...community is under attack, he says. In what way exactly? Well, he can't say. I mean, can anyone list even...
Where is he finding this?
One way in which the quote-unquote queer community is under attack? Well, of course...
Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk spent his entire career trying to remove the rights to these people, and so are plenty of other conservatives. They're trying to remove gay marriage and remove the rights to gay and trans people. They fucking hate them so much.
They can't. But you listen to that guy talking, you hear this guy in a dress, and it feels like a relic from an ancient world. It feels like the ancient world of 2021. You don't hear about it as much anymore. You don't see them shoving drag queens in our faces like they used to.
Okay. It's not really that deep, bud. Like, oh no, drag queens read to kids sometimes, or drag queens, like, perform shows in front of us. It's really not that fucking deep. I don't particularly resonate with drag queens that much. I'm not really educated on drag culture, and I don't really care to, because it's just never really been my thing. I have friends who are, though, so God bless. And I'm not really angry that drag culture exists, because, you know, it's a cool little thing people can escape to. You know, let people live the way they want to live. It doesn't affect me. I don't, like, have a negative downside to my life for them existing. It's really not that fucking deep, dude.
This was never a thing that the left was doing. All of the noise that was made about gay people and lesbians and trans people was amplified by the right in order to make you upset that you were constantly seeing these people, as though they themselves were not manufacturing the media environment that made you feel like you were being constantly bombarded with them.
And what that tells
Yeah, again, like, conservatives talk about trans people more than any other political party, to be honest. Like, they talk about them more than leftists do, and that's because Matt Walsh is secretly attracted to trans people, and if you look at his search history, if you look real hard enough, you'll probably find, like, tons of pages of trans porn that he probably jerks off to and sins for.
This is that if these people get back into power, we're probably going back to this. I mean, this is all coming back.
Well, threat.
Sure, dude. It's just, again, it's more just like casting doubt on the Democrats.
And me with a good time, why don't you?
Leftists are waging war on civilization, waging war on God, and also it's narcissism.
Oh my god. Guys, gay and trans people are fucking terrible, and they are a threat to us. Meanwhile, I believe in a fucking magical apple curse, and I think COVID was fake. Holy shit. And also, I think that black people are a danger to us. Alright, great, dude. You're totally not the insane one here, Mr. Walsh.
I mean, that's what the LGBT agenda is all about. Worship of self, celebration of the self, putting your own proclivities and desires above everything and everybody else.
Sure. Who cares? Even if that's all true, who gives a fuck?
Next up, billionaire Mark Andreessen doesn't believe in introspection. Matt disagrees with him, but in doing so, he unintentionally circles around into agreeing with him.
And something like the opposite of that is the case. So apparently Plato and Aristotle were not introspective, or else they weren't great men of history. I don't know which. Either way, it's retarded.
I'm not thrilled that word made a comeback, but whatever.
Pretty haunting.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I unfortunately got back into the habit of saying the R slur. You guys won't hear me say it, though. I say it to myself when I'm talking to myself. So you guys will never hear me say it. Unless maybe I do and it gets leaked. In which case, you'll cancel me again. Oh, no. Yeah, no, obviously I'm not a fan of the R slur. I really hate that I got back into the habit of saying it. I try not to. It's not a good word to say. But, you know, just don't use it. Right.
Actually, when you think about the fact that you've got these tech CEOs who are denying the existence of an inner self at all, like that does not bode well for us. The men of history had rich, vibrant interior lives. It's people today who are dead inside, who are unthinking, who have no introspection.
And whose fault?
Well, I mean, I'm dead inside after listening to Matt Walsh fucking ramble about bullshit conspiracies for over an hour.
What is that, Matt?
Therapy, as we know today, talk therapy, is a 20th century invention and certainly did not become common mainstream until the 20th century. So men were not sitting...
Sounds like you need a little bit of therapy to, like, fucking deal with your inner hatred issues. Because Jesus fuck, dude.
...around prior to, you know, about 100 years ago, whining about their feelings to a therapist.
The problem with people today lacking introspection is due to them intentionally seeking out time for help with introspection.
The great men of history had a rich interior life. They were contemplative, they were introspective, but they weren't full of self-pity, and they didn't focus much on how they feel or how they felt about themselves. See, that's the difference. 200 years ago, there was an emphasis on knowing yourself. Today, the emphasis is on feeling good about yourself. Because, in fact, feeling good about yourself all the time means, in many cases, in practice, not knowing yourself. So a lot of therapy, and the way that our culture works in general, is to encourage you to lie about yourself to yourself so that you can feel better about yourself.
High self-esteem? What am I? The woman I belittle for being a woman?
Or to put you on drugs so that you feel better while your inner self is obliterated.
I promise you, even if you take nothing else away from this, even if you disagree with everything else I've said, even if you think I'm a bleeding heart leftist libtard soy boy, antidepressants and ADHD meds do not change who you are. This idea spread on the right, and some really dumb parts of the left, that psych meds ruin your mind is one of the worst things they have ever convinced people of. I would not be able to make. I probably wouldn't have been able to even start making these videos without medication. I did not obliterate myself. I was able to fulfill myself. And lastly, there is a long COVID awareness day.
There's basically nothing that isn't a long COVID symptom. Long COVID is everything. It's everywhere. We all have long COVID. We all are long COVID. Long COVID is in all of us. We have all...
Oh, so COVID is real, but everybody has COVID and it's all in us, and we're just like making another conspiracy theory about it. Okay, I guess he does think that COVID's real in a very different way. He has the exact opposite problem that the conspiracy theorists that believe COVID wasn't a real thing have.
become long COVID. Long COVID is the friends we made along the way.
Long COVID is real. If you need evidence, recall all the stories about how people who got COVID suddenly couldn't taste anything, or everything started tasting like sewage. That wasn't nerve damage in their mouth, that was neurological damage in their brain. It took a very long time for a lot of them to get over it, and some of them still haven't.
Liberals love these kinds of, there's nothing that a liberal loves more than a disease like this. They can't get enough, literally cannot get enough of them. The best thing you can do for them, the best remedy is to not pity them and to not take it seriously. If anyone tells you they have long COVID, you should just laugh hysterically at them, point at them and laugh. And even if it doesn't help them, it at least is satisfying for you, and so that matters also.
Oh my god. Conduit, I don't know how you fucking dealt with this for a week. I gotta be honest. This is miserable. What day are we on?
Well, this is all just slop. It sounds good if you're stupid.
Okay, so that right there. Well, this is all slop. This is stupid. That's how you know Matt's terminally online. Some grown-ass fucking dude who's supposed to be in politics familiar with the term slop. Okay, that's how you know he's a little bit terminally online. Now I'm like 95% certain that like Matt Walsh uses Twitter as his source. Like I'm like almost certain of it.
It's not exactly national news, but it very much relates to the topic at hand. So this is a viral clip from the Whatever podcast. Okay, if we were going...
Oh, great. My favorite Red Pill podcast that brings on a bunch of OnlyFans girls and 18 and 19-year-old girls and berates the shit out of them. It's my favorite.
Going to start a campaign of mass denaturalization, not just mass deportation, which we also need, and we don't have right now, but also mass denaturalization. What would that look like, and how do you identify the people who should be denaturalized? Fortunately, if we're going to pursue this, many of these people, you know, they don't hide it. They don't hide the fact that they lied. And so here's a clip that I think kind of makes that point. Watch.
Let's say the United States went to war with Colombia. Who do you side with?
Colombia.
Get the fuck out of our country. Holy fuck. Why do you side with Colombia?
Because I'm from Colombia.
You've lived here for 10 years and you're now a citizen. Becoming a citizen requires taking the oath of allegiance. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay. A woman feels proud of her country, Colombia. I mean, especially nowadays when Trump is a fucking shit president who is indiscriminately bombing other countries and is a total fucking freak that is a threat to, like, all of our allies. Yeah, I mean, I would probably side with Colombia over America right now. America is unfortunately the country of defending pedophilia right now. That's just who we are right now, unfortunately, because our president won't release the client list.
So you lied to get into the United States, bro.
I didn't lie.
You have allegiance to...
That's not what she said. She didn't lie to get into the United States. She just... If you're a citizen of the United States, you're a citizen of the United States. It's not the allegiance to the United States. That's not a thing. That's not part of the immigration process.
Colombia.
It's not allegiance.
Originally, you
Yeah, she's right. It's not an allegiance.
said Colombia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll stick to that answer.
Okay, so first of all...
Gotta love it, dude. And watch, Matt Walsh is gonna say, like, yeah, the guy was totally correct in this situation. And yeah, she's stupid and she's not an American and she's a foreigner or whatever. That's what he's gonna say. He's gonna try to, like, make some racist remark to her.
Oh, this is an easy call because anybody who has face tattoos should be deported anyway.
Great.
Certainly lose your right to vote, but also you shouldn't be a citizen anymore. But second, this woman obviously needs to be denaturalized and kicked out of the country. She lied on her application. If we're going to start denaturalizing, this would be a good place to start. Trump administration, that woman shouldn't be hard to find. Go find her and denaturalize her and kick her out of the country. But you got to do it. Denaturalizing citizens and kicking them out of the country. That is in comparison to the recent precedent. That's a radical step. But we need radical steps. So
Guys, we need radical steps. Guys, the radical left is fucking dangerous. The radical left is, like, trying to fucking push their agenda and do all these things. The Democrats are trying to push their agenda. Their agenda is dangerous. Also, Christian nationalism, not that big of a deal. Also, let's be fucking radical to people that I don't like. People that say that they would be loyal to the country that they come from. Guys, let's be radical to these people. Oh, okay. Great. So, radicalization is not a problem, but only when it's right-wing stuff and when you're biased to it. Got it. So you're, once again, you're a hypocrite.
I'm all on board for it. We should create an atmosphere where if you're an immigrant and you come here and you get to be a citizen and you're naturalized, where now you realize you have to walk.
You guys don't care about legal immigration. Even if they are legal immigrants, you still would want to kick them out of the country for being brown. Like, again, you're like, go through the natural legal immigration process. Like, you should come here legally. No, stop. You obviously don't give a shit about this point. You're just you like inherently are already dehumanizing illegal immigrants for being brown, right? Like I'm not really here for this like, oh, you know, guys, come here legally. You don't care. That's not even part of the conversation anymore. Like we've moved so far past that.
A kind of a fine line, and you have to mind your P's and Q's, or you're gone. We made you a citizen, and we can unmake it. So you better get in line. You know, you better go out there. You better love this country. At least act like you do. If you don't, fake it. You better fake it.
I've been here all my life, and I don't like America right now. I'm sorry. That's where I'm at. Like, I'm not really happy with our current administration. I'm very frustrated with the fact that most of MAGA is defending pedophilia and are pretty much subscribed to pedophilia. Basically, they're totally chill with it. I'm also not happy with Donald Trump as a president. I don't think he's done anything positive for the country. Our economy has been absolutely shit as a result of him being president. He's objectively not a good president, but Matt Walsh is going to do anything to suck his dick, basically. You know, Matt Walsh is here saying that, like, hey, illegal immigrants are dangerous and all these people are dangerous and, you know, the left is trying to push their agenda. Meanwhile, I believe in a magical apple curse and my agenda is more sane than them.
Because if you don't, we're going to kick you out. Most immigrants, the vast majority, feel exactly like face tattoo woman feels.
Okay, one last day.
According to the most recent
Thank God.
Studies on the...
Oh, wait, one last day? Oh, it's day 5. Oh, fuck, you have 2 more days. Fuck.
Subject, the average American now subscribes...
Unless Conduit always does 5 days. Did Conduit always do 5 days? I thought he always did 7 days, because it's 1 week, right?
To 4 different streaming services.
Oh my God, are we not talking about foreigners poisoning the blood of the nation?
And yet the surveys and our own experience tell us that most people aren't satisfied with these services.
Finally, something else?
The art of filmmaking has declined, which everyone has noticed. In a word, everything kind of sucks now. And why is that?
Foreshadowing disappointment?
Well, the version of Seinfeld that's on Netflix is widescreen, even though the show was never intended to be widescreen. For the Netflix version, they simply just cropped the original image so that it fits widescreen TVs. And that means they deleted some of the content on the top and bottom of the image in every frame.
Oh, I see where this is going.
It's more significant than you might think. I mean, if we look at films and shows as pieces of art, then it's a problem that these services are making alterations to the art. You can't access 5 episodes of Always Sunny in Philadelphia because they were retroactively canceled during the BLM hysteria. Basically, any episode where a character appears in blackface...
Here I come. Here I come.
Even if the point of the gag is to mock Danny DeVito for wearing blackface, has been erased. And South Park took 5...
Blackface has always, like, inherently just been, like, racist. Like, doing blackface is inherently just, like, a racist thing. In a majority of cases. The only situation where I think that there is a little bit more conversation to have with it is, what is it, Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr., like, that one, I think that there was... I haven't seen that movie, but I'm pretty sure there was, like, a very specific reason that they had Robert Downey Jr. play as, like, a black character. But that being said, like, in a majority of, like, cases, blackface has always been, like, a racist trope, so I can see why they would want to remove that from their show, even if it's been around for so long. Like, the fact that you're outraged by this is kind of a self-report, buddy.
5 episodes offline because they depicted Muhammad in an unflattering manner, which is a capital offense in the Muslim world, which we've now imported to the United States. So, you know, they decided to stick to mocking Jesus and Christians and Trump voters instead, which is safe.
Oh, God, it's just like, guys, we've imported so many fucking Mohammeds in this country. We've imported Muslims. We've imported people that aren't white in this country, even though America has always been about immigrants. Dude, it's such a victim complex. Like, Matt Walsh has such a fucking victim complex. He thinks that every single foreigner is trying to fucking murder him and trying to ruin his life in every way imaginable. I could never imagine living like someone, Matt Walsh. It's just, it's such a victim mentality.
It's one of the reasons why comedy is dead, by the way. All the comedians are cowards.
Yes, but for the inverse of the reason you're suggesting.
The problem is not simply that wokeness has run amok or that left-wing DEI bureaucrats have taken over the entertainment industry, although that's all true.
It hasn't, but we're almost done, so just finish your piece.
I mean, in every area of life, we are confronted with an infinite number of options. And along the same line...
I can tell even Conduit's tired of watching this guy for a week because he's just that insufferable. He's just that much of a fucking moron.
As mentioned, there's no communal experience of film anymore. This is really the main thing. Everybody's watching different things. We're not experiencing the stuff together. Now, say what you want about a movie like, say, Titanic. That's an example I've used in the past, but...
It's a movie that likely fits the age range of his target demographic to poke the nostalgia button as well.
That was a cultural sensation in a way that no film today is, or probably ever can be. And yes, it's easy to point out that the Oscars implemented DEI and they won't give awards to productions that aren't diverse in some way.
Really?
Can you show a source for that? Because again, it's interesting that you were so comfortable showing like a graph that was probably misleading about New York homelessness, but then you will say that DEI is taking over the Oscars and then proceed to show no evidence for that.
Because that's what you've been doing this entire time.
I'm not going to wax poetic very much about the Blockbuster days, but the fact is a lot of people are starting to think about how things were back then. I saw a post on X saying that this is a trailer for one
Oh, yeah, told you. Guys, this guy's terminally online on Twitter. I fucking told you. What did I tell you? Terminally online. He fucking just scrolls through Twitter all day when he's not doing this, like, dog shit Daily Wire bit.
The most popular indie video games right now. And it's a game where you play as a clerk at a video store.
It's really interesting the way these monologues reveal their motivation. It's nothing sinister or cynical in itself, but it goes to show that basically anything in the zeitgeist can get pulled back to race relations in the United States if you simply decide to frame them that way. Which, if you think about it, is pretty much its own form of critical race theory. It's just that where a college professor would explain how these things intersect in the intention of artists and the consequences of their expression, Matt is basically taking it one step back to say that it's the intent of the production companies and the consequences of their expression.
This is what passes for entertainment today, apparently. So the video game industry is in even worse shape than I had thought. But actually, there's a reason that the game is popular. People are nostalgic for the pre-smartphone, pre-streaming era.
No, these kinds of games are popular because they're easy for streamers to play while they talk to their chats, and they provide a modestly satisfying feedback loop with low stakes. Farming Simulator doesn't signify our desire to return to an agrarian civilization, and Power Washing Simulator isn't about a desire to erase graffiti. But from there, it becomes yet another diatribe from someone about people ruining their attention spans with phones.
And the streaming companies realize that, so they have to dumb everything down. They have to take into account that most people are not paying attention to what's on the screen. And that black woman was the hero, of course. That's the other way you know that it's a Netflix streaming slop. Streaming shows.
Oh my god, dude. It's just like, anytime a black person is depicted in a good way, oh, suddenly it's too woke. Jesus fucking Christ. These people are so insufferable.
They're now a generic...
Oh my god, dude. It's such a victim complex.
Commodity served up without any artistic vision or integrity whatsoever. This isn't due to any mysterious epidemic of ADHD. It's because we have an infinite amount of content streaming into our faces all day, every day. And it will continue until the moment it stops being profitable. Until there's a crash in the entertainment industry, which could be happening based on the data from Los Angeles. Until it does, the amount of content will continue to increase exponentially. The monoculture will remain a thing of the past. And one by one, it will generate films just for you. Kind of like how Spotify will generate you a playlist based on the songs you listen to. And then you listen to those songs, and then it generates another playlist based on the fact that you listen to those songs. So pretty soon, your taste is not your taste anymore. You have the taste that the algorithm has kind of assigned to you. And the same thing's going to happen with movies. It already is.
It really cannot be said enough how similar Matt's affect is to Asmongold's.
Do you think people are going to call them anti-Semitic in the U.S.? They already are.
And this will be the moment when popular culture is destroyed forever. We won't have any kind of shared experience of anything anymore. Now, we can put the phones down, cancel some of these services, intentionally choose to reclaim some semblance of a shared culture.
I don't think Matt realizes that he's kind of horseshoe theorying himself, and I'm going to explain why he's horseshoe theorying himself. What he just suggested here, I'm going to let this play one more time, and then I'm going to explain why he's horseshoe theorying himself.
And this will be the moment when popular culture is destroyed forever. We won't have any kind of shared experience of anything anymore. And we can put the phones down, cancel some of these services, intentionally choose to reclaim some semblance of a shared culture. I don't have a lot of faith that we'll make that choice.
Yeah, so basically he's essentially insinuating that that's a good choice, or that you should be boycotting these streaming services to make them stop being too woke, basically. That's what he's saying there. Notice how he sounds just as whiny as all the annoying fucking leftists that scream online. If you purchase, like, Starbucks, they'll call you, like, a genocidal freak for supporting Israel or something if you buy, like, a Starbucks drink or something. You just did that, Matt. Like, you just horseshoe theoried yourself into what the annoying left is, basically. Because you are advocating for people to boycott these streaming services because you're against these DEI programs. That's essentially what he just did there. He did the annoying woke left purity test right there.
Of all the obviously racist stuff Matt has said in the time I've watched him, I find this the most offensive. I'm sure he'd call me a triggered lib for that, but really, this entire week he has denigrated immigrants, minorities, non-Christians, every non-heteronormative or neurotypical, and everyone else, which to be clear does include straight white people, who exist within the artistic communities that create the culture he is now lamenting. Matt, you helped kill the monoculture. You gleefully held a pillow over its face as it struggled for air, and in the silent stillness that followed, you now yearn for the warmth of a corpse. I have a lot of things I want to say, but instead I'll just ask. What did you expect? Oy. To summarize the rest of this, he went over a Chris Rufo article about a bridge for animals in California going over budget.
That's the project lead you're looking for, a blonde woman.
God, you can tell Conduit is just so overwatching this guy. And so, like, he's not even, like, watching the rest. He's just, like, summarizing the rest of his stream. And I honestly can't blame Conduit, truthfully. He's just, like, actually insufferable to listen to.
In a pink vest, carrying a stuffed animal.
Chris Rufo, if you're unaware, is the conservative activist who started the hysteria over critical race theory, as he admitted on Twitter. Something something women, something something minorities and fraud. A children's book author murdered her husband, and Matt uses that example to talk about bringing back the death penalty.
I think that we need to bring the death penalty back as a political issue, as a debate in this country.
A judge gave a black 18-year-old who committed armed robbery 25 years in prison.
We've given female judges a hard time on the show. Rightly so.
I'm not particularly torn up.
Honestly, like, Matt Walsh should just fucking, like, be friends with Sam Hyde at this point. Just fucking do it, man. Like, we already know you're a white supremacist, so, like, just fucking, like, be friends with Sam Hyde or Nick Fuentes. Just, like, take the full plunge, man. Stop being a coward. Like, if you're gonna be a hateful piece of shit, fucking own being a hateful piece of shit, and stop hiding behind all these, like, dog whistles, and stop hiding behind all these, like, fucking euphemisms. Just fucking take the plunge, dude. Like, actually show yourself being a white supremacist if you're gonna spew adjacent white supremacist logic.
About that, however, I will point out that the sponsor after that is Balance of Nature.
This episode is sponsored by Balance of Nature,
a brand that had to get pulled from shelves for misleading claims about being able to cure cancer and COVID, which you'd think would be important to someone who cares a lot about fraud. And lastly, Joy Reid compared Iran's oppression to the United States. Who cares? I thought there'd be more here. For all of the hullabaloo surrounding Matt Walsh, I'm just disappointed.
Big congratulations to Kim Jong-un, who's, according to reports, the supreme leader of North Korea, just won re-election with, get this, 99.93% of the vote. The thing that I really admire, frankly, is that he didn't compromise on his principles to get there. And I thought there was one campaign promise in particular that he made that was really effective, and it definitely resonated. And that's when he promised that if you don't vote for him, he'll kill your family. Where he said that if you don't vote for him, he'll throw your family in a dungeon, they'll be eaten by dogs. That was the thing in particular that I think, according to a lot of the exit polls that I read, it really motivated a lot of voters. A lot of voters said that was the thing. It's still possible to reach a consensus. I think Kim Jong-un has proved that.
Audience program off.
What is there for me to say that you don't already get? I'm still struck by how explicit this week was in its overt everything.
Because it's racist. They'll think I'm a racist.
Hello there, Father. I hear you're a racist now, Father.
Look, the main takeaway is just, don't be racist.
And yeah, it's just like common human decency. Like, don't fucking dehumanize anyone that isn't white. Again, like, I mean, like, I don't even know why people take fucking Matt Walsh seriously. Like, he's the kind of guy that perpetrates conspiracy theories and thinks that he's objectively the right one, and says that, like, gay and trans people are perpetrating propaganda when he believes in a magical apple curse.
I was pretty mid on Squid Game when it first came out. I respected the vibe, the clear intent of the story, the effort being put in by all involved. It basically operates the way a lot of modern TV does for me, where I can see all of the craft being put in, but it never really becomes more than the sum of its parts beyond its popularity for having a message.
I said I played these games before!
See also The Boys. But there is one thing I want to talk about with it. See, in Season 2, the show introduces a new element to the games.
Because it's democracy! Run by you and me!
The players get to vote on whether or not to go home then and there, with the winnings apportioned equally. But everyone playing has extreme amounts of debt, so every time they keep voting to keep going. Now that has the potential to be a very irritating little subplot. However, it managed to premiere only a month and some days after the 2024 presidential election.
Is that okay?
Marty.
It is absolutely wild that this show, which would have had to have been written months, if not years prior to this, manages to line up so well with the period it's been released in. Of course, it would still have salience if the US presidential election went in the other direction, but it wouldn't have been so PTSD-inducing. I'm sorry, Squid. I was unfamiliar with your game. But the problem with being unintentionally prophetic is that it only happens in the broadest possible strokes, meaning that Squid Game only engages with the voting system in terms of the metaphor for capitalism rather than politics. Of course, I can't exactly blame them for that. I'm talking about American politics in reference to a Korean show. So Fight Club, yes, I switched topics, roll with me, is a 1999 movie starring Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, directed by David Fincher, and based on the book of the same name by Chuck.
I'm going to speed this up. One thing I will say about Conduit's videos is they're pretty good for the most part, but like his conclusions tend to be pretty long, and I don't really have a lot I can say about like the concluding chapters, so I am going to speed this up to 1.5 times speed.
Polynic. It's about a dissatisfied, nameless corporate drone who befriends a traveling soap salesman and starts a fight club. Of course, there's more to it than that. Insomnia, terrorism.
Never seen the movie Fight Club. Heard a lot of good things, though.
Penguins, a girl.
It's cancer, right?
And the way men are culturally pressured into a performance of masculinity, which is ultimately destructive to themselves and everyone around them, leading to the violent rejection of society in pursuit of that masculinity's true fulfillment. In other words, it's about the way men end up becoming fascists.
His name is Robert Paulson.
So why am I breaking the first 2 rules of Fight Club and talking about Fight Club? Because Fight Club and Squid Game are a lot alike. How are they alike? So horseshoe theory is the premise that the more you diverge from the center of the political spectrum, the closer you become to your political opposite. This isn't based on a shared desired outcome, but rather the means by which you intend to achieve that outcome.
We can't all wear the same thing. We're gonna look like a team. So? A team of dorks.
Moderates at the center work within the system, and as you diverge, you begin to seek faster and more immediate solutions outside the system. A communist who believes that the best path to achieving communism is by democratic majority, functionally, isn't much of a communist given their participation in and tacit endorsement of an unpreferred political and economic system. However, a communist that rejects that political and economic system via means outside the socially acceptable will find common cause in trying to achieve a revolution with those on the right who also reject the political and economic system in favor of their own. See, 1930s Germany.
Yeah, I do think it's very interesting how Matt Walsh tends to horseshoe theory the fuck out of himself. Like, he did it earlier when he said that you should boycott Disney Plus or, like, all these platforms or shows like Netflix that are too woke. You know, you should boycott them, even though that's what the far left does, and they get criticized a lot for that. So Matt Walsh literally just did, like, the same thing there.
The trick is that each side thinks they're the ones who's going to be in control when the fires are put out and the dust is settled. Now, to bring it back to Squid Game, democracy is presented in Squid Game entirely as a tool of the wealthy to facilitate their control over the poor by pitting their interest against each other, making the need for violent revolution all but inevitable. Here's the thing. That's not an accurate representation of the system. This is a representation of the system to someone who does not like democracy. Because in real life, democracy is something that the wealthy need to constantly subvert in order to achieve their ends. It constantly gets in their way. Democracy offers a means for the public to remove the wealthy's power where they would otherwise need force. It's not something that exists as a means of granting people the illusion of control over their lives. It is the means of that control. Squid Game, like Fight Club, only posits that the system is bad based on a relationship to it that is, in the most neutral sense of the word, resentful.
Alright, I'm not trying to be an asshole conduit, but, like, how does this tie back to Matt Walsh? Like, I get it, like, you know, like, you're talking about, like, socialism, fascism, like, horseshoe theory and all this stuff, but it's like, I feel like you could, again, I had this same problem when he did his Joe Rogan video. I feel like a lot of these conclusions could be shortened. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like these conclusions just remain, like, longer than they should, and you kind of wind up just saying the same thing over and over again. Like, this is the same exact problem that you had with your Joe Rogan video. Again, you're a great content creator, but, like, you gotta shorten your conclusions a little bit. Like, I'm giving you the same criticism that I gave you in that video.
But where Fight Club presents that resentment as the result of social pressures and toxic masculinity, sending isolated men into a spiral of depression, delusion, and worshipping authoritarian strongmen.
Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives.
Squid Game takes that resentment and justifies it by directing it at the system and framing it through class consciousness.
No! No, don't do it, you asshole! Fucking loser!
What are you so worked up about?
I put a lot of money on that dickhead to win.
How much did you bet?
$1 million!
What convinced you to bet so much on number 69?
You might see how that's a problem. That's not to say that the feelings in both the movie and the show don't initially come from genuine and valid places, but the path those feelings are funneled through determine whether those feelings are constructive or destructive. Squid Game doesn't offer anything more than a reminder that the system is bad. You don't need to give me a realistic solution, but given the premise, it should be something a bit more substantial than shoot everyone. The Matrix is a perfect example. It does the exact same system bad so shoot everyone that Squid Game does.
Oh, shit.
But the solution it presents is based on a culmination of the premise. Everyone is in a program, so you need to hack the code. And by the end, the revolution isn't built on ejecting everyone from the system. It's about giving people the choice of whether to accept the system or to leave it.
Whoa, we're all in the Matrix? Oh my god. Holy shit. Got him. Don't tell Candace Owens or Matt Walsh that.
I had originally gone into this with the idea of comparing Squid Game to Snowpiercer, insofar as their respective stories have the absurdity built into their thesis. How can the system possibly work, is the question you're supposed to be asking about the show, and by extension, about
Alright, you know what? I'm gonna be real with you. I think we're done with this video. I think we've seen everything we needed to see. Like, again, like, there's this, like, analysis of, like, oh, Squid Game, it ties into Matt Walsh and everything. I think we got, like, what we needed in this video, and I don't really have a lot of commentary I can give over this part, because it just feels like it's a lot of rambling. It's one of my, again, the conclusion parts to Conduit videos are my least favorite parts. No offense, Conduit. I like you as a content creator, but you kind of have to get to the point faster, especially considering your videos already are long as is, and this, like, analysis, you kind of wind up just, like, I don't know. I just don't really have a lot of commentary I can give over it, so I think I'm just going to end the segment here. And, yeah, other than the conclusion, solid video, though. Yeah, Matt Walsh is a fucking loser.